request the panel members to come to the stage. Kindly request the panel members to come to the stage so that there will be some extra seats. People will come and occupy it.
Quicker you move, more audience will be.
Yeah. So Jeyaraman?
Yeah.
Once again, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to the session 2. Session 3, it is a kind of a parallel session, and the theme of the session is on impact of changes in temperature, especially on different sectors like water, soil and food systems in India. And there are 6 speakers, and one of the speaker, Dr. Rajbir Singh, will be joining in between. He has another meeting with the ministry. So the theme, which is a very quite significant in terms of food system, which is affecting in different dimensions of the initiatives, especially the relationship between the temperature as well as the changes in the greenhouse gas emissions, that is very evident, and there are many studies supporting how the changes has been happening in the weather and climate systems. So we are aware about we are all aware about the such changes and its implications on the food systems, and especially in the production system, the rise in temperature has implications on the growth and development of crop in different phenological stages, as well as the productivity. And at the same time, on water, it has an implications, especially in the seasonal rainfall as well as the extreme rainfall event, which has implications on the availability as well as the access, and also the quality aspects also it played a major role. So that dimensions also will get addressed, discussed in this session. And the third element is the soil temperature. The soil temperature, it has implications on physical, chemical and biological properties of the soil, and that in relation to food systems, how we need to cope up and develop strategies to overcome as a part of climate adaptation measures. And coming to the next element within the temperature, that is the diurnal temperature variation, which has implications again on the food production as well as on other sub-sectors. That is also discussed in this, which is not focused as a kind of an very important indicator in the changes. So in terms of the food systems, especially it covers the people, processes as well as the policies, which are very critical to the livelihoods and economic development, since we are mostly focusing on the smallholder farming system. So how these elements have a kind of compounded effects affecting their lives as well as the productivity. And also the recent the COP meetings, it is made clear that the IPCC reports also again reiterating that how the decreasing productivity in existing areas of agriculture production, especially in the vulnerable areas, how it is affecting the agriculture production system, and at the same time how the temperature changes is affecting the nutritional quality of the products. That is having again implications on the dietary side as well as the nutritional aspects. And the third, increasing stress on ecosystem services. So in the morning presentation, the point has been reiterated at landscape level, how changes has been happening, how investments are there, because many schemes are focusing on individual farmer level, but at the overall level, the ecosystem or landscape level, how changes needs to be brought in the context of changing the temperature and related variables. And in the food production, there are evidences have been well said about how the temperature change is affecting the productivity of the major crops like paddy or wheat or maize, or including sugarcane or many vegetable crops. There were studies or evidences quoting how it is affecting the changes. Not only the productivity, as I said, the quality of the product, especially many of the micronutrients, which is again relating to the hidden hunger, affecting the malnutrition status. So in that context, again, soil and water is also related to that. So the changes in temperature has implications on different dimensions of the overall food systems. So this session is focusing on the different dimensions and what are all the current complexities and how it is getting ramified in over the cropping systems, and what are all the potential strategies available to tackle in the food systems. So for this, there are 6 speakers. I'll just introduce the speakers first, then we'll start the session. The first speaker is Dr. Santanu Kumar, and he's a project coordinator in All India Coordinated Research Project on Agrometeorology, and his expertise in research and coordination in agrometeorology, especially weather relationship and agroclimatic characterization. He designed algorithms for the weather-based decision support system, crop analogy, and weather-based crop insurance also. And the unique as well as the innovative tools that he supported in developing, like a dynamic crop weather calendar, which is currently used by IMD through agrometeorological field units across country. Welcome, sir, for this session. And second speaker is Dr. Somasundaram Jeyaraman, and he is a principal scientist in the division of soil physics earlier. Now he is heading Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation in Udagamandalam, that is in Tamil Nadu, and has vast experience in natural resource management focusing on soil health, soil carbon sequestration, greenhouse gas emission, and ecosystem services. And he is also experienced in handling projects in different landscapes, especially in semi-arid regions of western and central India. Welcome again, sir, for this session. The third speaker is Dr. Anushiya. She is a research scientist and leading the adaptation and risk analysis team under the climate, environment and sustainability sector, that is CSTEP, based in Bangalore. And she has a doctoral degree in climate change and natural resource management from Center for Climate Change and Disaster Management, Anna University. And she has vast experience in climate extremities, microclimate, climate risk and resilience, climate knowledge management, linking with sustainable development goals and micro level policies through climate lens. Welcome, Dr. Anushiya, for this session. And the fourth speaker is Dr. Rahul Tripathy. Rahul is a senior scientist from National Rice Research Institute. He has more than 15 years of experience in the areas of, again, soil physics, soil and water conservation, remote sensing and GIS with crop modeling. And he has vast field experiences in implementing climate smart agriculture in diverse agroecologies, especially in Orissa. And we have been associated with Rahul for the last 5 years in implementing a project on climate smart agriculture. It's called Resilience, funded by Norwegian Embassy. And fifth speaker is Dr. Rajbir Singh. He is currently Assistant Director General Agronomy, Agroforestry and Climate Change with ICAR under the Natural Resource Management Division. He will be joining shortly. And he is also a key person in instrumental in planning, coordinating and monitoring of R&D programs, especially related to sustainable agriculture production and resource conservation. in the context of climate change, and he played a major role under KVK to popularize conservation agriculture and natural farming, including the Nutri-Garden among the farming communities. So the experiences will help us to learn what are all the challenges in implementing or translating such climate smart technologies in the field, and how one could bring a kind of an holistic linkages for its sustained adoption. So I'll be speaking at the end on the water side, sharing experiences from one of our field, how the policies can be translated into the field, how convergence can be supportive in implementing those policies or any other schemes into action. So with that, I'll now request Dr. Santanu Kumar to start the presentation first.
Thank you, Dr. Rengalakshmi. Good afternoon, all. After lunch, post-lunch, very difficult to make all of you attentive, but I'll try my best to, use this 15-20 minutes. And because, I am from a research institute, my main work is to coordinate research in Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So I'll be more temp towards little bit, intense into maybe with a particular aspect I can take into deep. But after attending the first session, now I'll try not to go into deep, but try to give you some of the basic information that we try to generate, and try to link with temperature. And also I have been given a topic to talk on temperature only. And we know that in agriculture we cannot take temperature in isolation. Okay. And so if I only talk on temperature and leave water, so it will be it will be difficult. Okay. So, but the topic is only to talk on temperature. So try to understand that when I'll tell that okay, this temperature has a negative impact or a positive impact. But it has also some interactive effect with water also. Water is available, not available, it depends on. And first presentation was with by Dr. Rajbir Singh, who was supposed to give a little bit on basics of climate change and all those things. After that, I will be moving to agriculture, how temperature is impacting. As he is not here, so I hope that you will feel comfortable with when I start directly. So topic is that how temperature because the project in which I am coordinating, I have 30 centers across the country, where we have assigned different crops to different centers. We all know that in India, the whole country has been divided into different kinds of agroclimatic, agroecological zones. Each zone has its own strength, own constraints. So accordingly, we grow different kinds of crops, and each crop has its own optima of temperature. So accordingly, those different crops has been decided for different centers or locations, and they do research on those crops. We have long-term experimental data for more than 20, 30, 40 years. Using those data, then we try to find out what is the optima for a particular crop, what is the water use, and what temperature or what type of response of a particular crop to the different kinds of situations like agroclimatic zones or agroecological zones. So in that perspective, I'll just be talking a little bit about how this temperature actually impacts in Indian agriculture. And when I talk about temperature, it is not the only daily temperature. When in the morning also told that temperature means how in a single day or from a climatic perspective, how temperature in a particular day. Also, if I say that temperature is maximum is 30, minimum is 10, that is also not complete. What is the range of temperature? What is the distribution of temperature in a particular day? That also impact the agriculture or plants or crops. And if we look at the whole globe, we all know that temperature is increasing, and this increase in temperature is more in the northern hemisphere compared to the southern hemisphere. and as we are closer to equator, so impact will be further more. And if we look at what are the points of worry that we can see that India has a diverse ecological conditions, means different climatic conditions, different places have different kind of response. The topic is that facts, risk, response. That means same crop grown in two different places, if temperature is increased by 2 degrees, the response will be different. The response will not be equal. And as the temperature is continuously rising and also predicted to rise even further, so that is the worry we have. And the increase in temperature is more rapid in the recent years. And when I tell that increase is more rapid, it is evident already. It has established, and also predicted that the rise in temperature rate will be further more in the coming years. And these are the projected temperature. We can all see that. And if we assume that there are a lot of meetings in COP, IPCC reports that different scenarios. So my personal belief is that GHG emission is not going to decrease in the years to come. Whatever we can tell a lot of things in seminar symposiums, but it is not going to decrease, and the rise in temperature rate, my personal belief is that it will be further rapid in the coming years. And if we look at the Indian scenario, the country's production potential, though more, but we have already crossed around 330 million tons. And the horticulture production has surpassed the food grain production, and the rate of increase, the area is constant, and the demand is more, temperature is going to increase. So that is the worry for us, how to do that. And if we this is a very common figure that many firms you must have seen, that a single variety of ICR, the basmati rice, it is fetching around 38,000 crore. And in case of sugarcane, the recovery percentage has increased from 9 to around 12%. So it is additional benefit around 60,000 crore. Just imagine a single crop, a single intervention. You can see the amount of revenue that is contributing to the Indian GDP. And there is a simple for revolution in the pulse segment in the last few years. India is around saving around more than 18,000 crore. So this is just an example that how a particular parameter like temperature, if it affects a particular crop, what kind of impact it will have on our GDP. This I already told. Having different India has been divided in different zones based on its soil, based on temperature, based on length of growing period. That means each area have its own strength and own constraints that we have to identify, and accordingly we have to take the intervention or put into use. And when we look at the weather parameters, first we talk of temperature, then it comes water. And when you talk of temperature, every crop has its own optimal, that we call as cardinal temperature, a minimum, one optimum, one maximum. If it goes below minimum, crop will be affected. Goes beyond maximum, crop will be affected. If it is in between the optima, we can expect that. If we just neglect all those other aspects, in that optima, the crop production or yield will be maximum. And if we look at the whole country, recently we are hearing a lot about heat wave. So this is the potential of where the heat wave in India is happening. What are the areas where the maximum? I think pointer is not working. So maximum where which are the places where maximum heat wave is occurring? So in that way we can reallocate or assign that what kind of crop, what kind of impact will have on different kinds of crop. That also we can look at. And if we look at you can see trend of increase in maximum temperature. You can see there are some of places. Yeah, no issue. So you can see that there are some places which are more prone, that means the trend of increase in temperature or heat wave is more. So accordingly we can take, but these are some of the information that we have analyzed, and because whatever I am showing, these are all work that mostly we have done, mostly 90% work that we have done. Some I might have taken from literature. And my purpose is to just ignite you that what kind of impact temperature will have on Indian agriculture. And if you look at, and temperature means it is not only heat wave. Even in the negative side, if temperature goes below than normal in some of the points, we can have some cold waves. We can have some frost damages in northwest India, mostly in Punjab, Haryana, and western UP. In also Himachal, this frost damage is there. Mostly the potato, peas, and the soft tissue crops are mostly damaged. And you can see that how this heat wave, this frost prone area is changing with decades. What was happening in the northwest part of Rajasthan, now you can see in UP also this frost is coming up. So that's why this is all the preparedness that we should have. Then what is risk? When we talk of heat or temperature or more energy, more heat, you can see these are very common things. The heat stress response. What should be the cold stress response? Stomatal conductance means affected because through stomata all the water and all the gas exchange happens. Water relations, higher water demand will be there, more temperature, more evaporation, more vapor pressure deficit. So more amount of water will be lost into the atmosphere. Demand will be more. And carbon assimilation, we know that extreme temperature can inhibit the carbon assimilation. Whatever photosynthesis is happening, whatever deposit is in there, your food stock or fruits or grains, that is due to the carbon assimilation. If temperature is more, that assimilation will be affected, respiration is more, so negative impact will be there, and your grain size, your total food production will be less. And then what will be the impact on agriculture? There are a lot of uncertainties. I will not go through, just for your, is the temperature gradual increase? Yes, it is gradually increasing. In the last 100 years, we have seen that more than 1 degree Celsius has been already increased. And interaction with moisture. So I told that we should not look at temperature alone. It should be interacted how much. If in a rainfed area, in irrigated area, the impact of temperature will be different. And water availability, it is going to be affected with increase in temperature. Economics, demographic infrastructure, changes in crop suitability. One crop which was suitable for a region, it will not be in that suitable for that particular region. In case of apple, you can see in the Himachal Pradesh, all the apple growing orchards. Now the farmers are little bit trying to move up. So in one area which is in a negative part, the other farmers they are getting benefited. So this kind of crop suitability with location changes will going to happen. And then crop and livestock diseases. Any disease, whether it is the crops or livestock, that is also because disease and pests they are driven by the energy. Post harvest. Today a lot of talk was there that how we should move. There should be convergence with a lot of different governmental enterprises and all those things. Post-harvest loss will be more, energy required to store the crops will be more, transported losses will be more, and transportation cost. So these are all these few of the impacts that is going to have if this temperature is going to increase. And if we look at the specific impacts on crops, I am not going to detail. Lot of germplasm extinction, poor vernalization, lot of things, cracking of fruits. These are the very simple things. Who are involved in agriculture, they know that in case of fruits like pomegranate, cherry, there is a cracking of fruits. I have seen in my own eyes that in pomegranate it just simply cracked. So, and these are some of the simple or specific impacts of this increase in temperature. One example that I'll give you how this impact is the last year, lot of hue and cry on heat wave. We all know that 2020 was a heat wave, 3-4 months continuous heat wave was there. So this tax was given to ICAR, and ICAR gave the tax to me that you try to look at how this heat wave happened, where it happened, how much the impact, and what can be done, or what are the technologies available to ICAR. So my unit, I coordinated with more than 100 institutes of ICAR, many Krishi Vigyan Kendras. We try to look at that how this increase in temperature. You can see these are all the weeks. So each week that if it is more red means that is, temperature is more than normal. So for a continuously you can see for 12 weeks there was an increase in temperature, and simultaneously you can see there was no rain at all, very minimal rain. So that's why I'm telling, only temperature is not the factor. Increase in temperature 7-8 degree more than normal, and no rainfall. So that's why heat load was more compared to this year, 2023. Similar condition happened in the initial part of this year, but there was frequently there was rain, so that impact was not that much. So these two, that means simple example, you can see if temperature goes below in a particular range, how impact, and you know the total impact on the crops like wheat and some of the horticulture crops. Personal farmers from Punjab, they have told that there is a 20% less production in his field. But overall, you know, lot of different reports were there. And this report, you know, I published by ICR, but it was not given to government because there are some issues that some, you know, lot of hue and cry will be there. But practically saying there is a lot of impact on wheat and mostly with the horticulture crops. And you know, this is one example how it is impacted, you know, the fishery, the shrimp growth. You can see that if temperature is more, how this also can impact the shrimp, impact the livestock. And some of the research issues that I will tell. Most in my project there are many centers, you know, growing a single crop. For example, soybean. You can see soybean in three locations. The response is that if temperature goes beyond a particular limit, you know, the yield is going to decrease, and you can see that, and that too in a particular stage. So impact of temperature is not equal in different stages. If the stage is critical, the impact is going to be maximum. Similarly, in case of chickpea, you can see that it's a multi-locational experiment. 1 degree increase in, you know, temperature can reduce the yield by 60 kg per hectare. This is a simple calculation. It may vary from location to location, but this is just a multi-locational information. And you know, this is one example of Ludhiana. If we compare 2 years, 21-22 and 22-23, you can see that the reduction is up mostly by 10 to 20% reduction compared to 2018-19, which was considered a normal year. And this is because you can see the red lines are more than the black one. That means the temperature is more than the normal. So this shows that if temperature remains higher for a particular period, what kind of impact it is going to be. And also, if directly not on production, indirectly, different kinds of pest disease are driven by, you know, energy, like crop. So not of, you know, today what is happening, in future also, whatever different models have predicted that if temperature you know, keeps on going or rising, this kind of, you know, different kind of pest prevalence, it's you know, the developmental rate, the multiplication rate, all are going to increase by this increase in temperature. And new pests will come in the current areas, and the pests which were there in our areas, it may go to some other places. These kinds of you know, impact will be there. And you know, this particular whole whether it is a crop or an insect, these are driven by, you know, this the heat unit concept. We call it as growing degree days. That means if temperature will be more, the phenology, the different stages. For example, I have a crop of 100 days, and from first to second stage, it was taking 30 days. If temperature increases, it may take 27 days. So whole phenology will change, and also the crop duration. The crop duration, if it is 100 days, if your temperature increases by 2 degree or 1.5 degree, whole duration is going to decrease by 3, 4 or 5 days. So that 3, 4, 5 days means your whole total yield may decrease by maybe 10%, maybe 5% or maybe 20% also. And in case of mango, for example, you know, the flowering flush, and you know, the flowering is a phenology, and it depends on temperature. If temperature, there is an alter in temperature, so your timing of your flowering of, this is example I have given mango. Many horticulture crops, that the you know, impact and the pattern of flowering is going to change, and mango is a very specific example. In most of the years, you might have seen that in the market the mango goes up. In some years there is a lot of mango, So that is because of these changes in flowering habit. And another aspect is with temperature, water requirement, water demand, water availability is going to change. And it depends on whether you are in a irrigated area or in a rainfed area, or you are in a humid area or in a arid area. So more problem is with rainfed and the arid areas, okay, where the water availability is less and the evapotranspiration or vapor pressure deficit is more. So you need more water, and its impact it will have a result in a lot of your yield will be reduced, your phenology will be changed, your whole duration of the crop will be changed. And then response means because I am doing little bit faster because I have to complete it by 20 minutes. Response means what kind of researches are being done or what kinds of options are available. For example, the magnitude that I told that it will be different in different kind of agroecological conditions, and rainfall had a positive influence on most of the crops, but the combined impact of maximum minimum temperature, whatever damage will be there, it cannot be fulfilled by this rainfall pattern or increase in rainfall. And a lot of technological interventions are available. I'll just give some example. For example, we can have climatic analogs. That means which are the places where the potential is more, or if I know that a particular zone is very suitable for mango, can I identify similar areas across the country? If it is available, they can suggest that okay, this particular agroclimate or agroecological zone is suitable for mango, so you can go. So that kind of climatic analogs that we can do. Heat resistant varieties already many are in place. Because of this heat resistance varieties of wheat, the last year the impact was little bit reduced because of availability. And one very good example I will tell, in our heat wave bulletin that we published, one variety was suggested from Punjab, that this variety is doing very well in these heat wave conditions. And that seeing that report, ICAR asked me, this is not a recommended variety, why you have included in the bulletin? But fortunately, lot of farmer results that showed that particular variety, whoever has shown, there the yield reduction was minimum. So then that information has been given to ICAR. So now people are trying to look into that variety, and that may be released soon. And improvement in water use efficiency. Today also Dr. Pingali was telling that okay, we have to increase our use efficiency, and many varieties are there and many agronomic options are there available. How to improve that? And improvement in energy saving storage options, innovative transport. These are all the things that we know that how we can improve these, tackle this increase in temperature. For example, the Punjab we had divided into different kinds of climatic zones, and try to allocate different crops as per their strength of that particular zone. This work we have. So these kinds of climatic suitability or delineation of agroclimate of a particular crop can be figured out. And when you talk of temperature, it is not, I already told, it is not only daily temperature. What is the distribution? And you go to a single particular type of climate or particular kind of place where the temperature and the soil type are different. You can see the distribution of temperature is different in Rajasthan, different in Bihar. So same temperature, maximum temperature 30, minimum 10. But if you look at two places, the distribution of temperature in a particular day is not same. So that also affects the crop. So that also you have to understand. So we have tried to define that in which kind of climatic conditions, what kind of temperature functions are there. And also we have different kinds of, I'll finish. And different kinds of strategies are already available for the present conditions and also for the future. So this work we did, we look at the maize crop. Across the country, we have more than 90 districts where maize is a main crop. And if temperature increases by 1, 2, 3 degrees Celsius in next, maybe 20, 30 years, what kind of interventions that we have in terms of sowing alterations? Can we prepone the sowing or can we postpone the sowing? Nutrient management and extra giving one additional or two additional extra irrigation. So can you negate that negative impact which is going to be if temperature increases? That kind of options that we have tried to find out. And impact of sowing time and phenology. That means we have quantified in case of wheat that we have shown that if we sow a particular crop in a particular time, and if we try to prepone or postpone, what kind of impact is going to be there. This is one experiment that we did in Bihar. You can see in different years how this temperature is behaving, and also we have tried to determine the critical weather limits for different crops. This is one example for rice. We have multiple locations. We have 7 locations across India, starting from Jammu to Kerala. We grow rice. We have long-term experiments. Try to define that what kind of parameter is contributing how much, okay, for this. So in that way, this type of critical weather limits can be easily defined, or also can be put into use. If suppose, for example, temperature is going to increase, we can tell that, okay, this is the critical limit, so please don't go for that crop, or please go for that crop. And this today also, the farmers, the basic problem with, because we are also involved into agro, met advisories. We are giving advisories to all the more than 4 crores farmers through India Meteorological Department, and my unit is basically a research unit, basically technical backstopping to IMD. We develop some of the algorithms and some of the products, decision support systems. We hand over to IMD so that they can be used for preparing the agromet advisories. And here you can see this is a simple tool that we have developed, that this gives whether it is the best time to go for sowing or not. Is there sufficient moisture in the soil? If yes, then let's go for sowing. This is a simple decision support system which gives sowing time, irrigation time, and also the amount of irrigation. And a lot of programs are going on regarding the genetic improvement. We are trying to identify the traits, that means heat resistant traits, and if that, then that can be included in the plant breeding programs. And these are some of the varieties available in Punjab. Last year these varieties performed well, and these are part of the bulletin. And when you talk of this livestock, we know that there are different kinds of mechanism by which we can improve the breeds which can withstand higher temperature conditions. And also many places have observed many changes in temperature and rainfall patterns. If we identify that, we can also suggest for change in crop calendars. This also we have tried to do in some of the states. And this is one of the things, because if we improve the weather forecast capability and know that temperature is going to increase, we can predict in a better way, whether it is a short term, whether it is a medium term or a long term. That also improves your adaptation capabilities and all those things. So better weather forecast also leads to better intervention and better preparation. And this agromet advice services, which is nothing but giving advice to the farmers based on weather forecast, based on your information or observations, or whatever decision support system that you have, you use that and give some of the information to the farmers for like whether there is a chance of any pest or disease due to increase in temperature, whether there is any chance to give an additional irrigation based on your temperature. All those things, if you do that, then also you are reducing the risk and giving more capacity to the end users, that is farmers. So this is about my presentation. I tried to finish it by 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Going to happen to wheat crops this time? This year.
Again, it depends on the temperature. What is
What's your forecast?
No, okay, that is another domain. Forecast, basically forecast, India government or IMD gives a forecast in case of monsoon. That is a long-term forecast given before 3-4 months, and every year we are seeing that. This year also, last year also, IMD told that it will be 96% of the normal. Before that told that it will be plus 104, so it became true. Okay. And long-term forecast, the accuracy is low. Try to understand. It is for the policy makers. And this long-term forecast, even the model says that it will be extremely low, but government does not tell that. Try to understand why. There will be a lot of holding that word he was using in the morning. Lot of political implications are there. So government also, while giving the long-term forecast, they also take many things into consideration. And regarding the wheat, maximum the seasonal forecast, which is of 15 days or maximum 30 days, it is there. And temperature we cannot predict, for next 3, 4, 5 months. We can predict because basically model gives the output, but accuracy will not be that much. That is the only thing. But only I think can tell that we hope that it will be good. But that is the truth, because model does not give the temperature output before 3, 4 months.
Yeah, and also scale matters, sir.
Yeah,
spatial
lot of
scale
things
matters. Yeah. If there is any immediate questions, we can. Otherwise, we'll be.
Any study on the impact of temperature on soil, like biodiversity, more in terms of soil health and all this?
People are doing, but yes, people are doing. But I think Dr. Jeyaraman is from soil background. He will be giving. Yes.
Okay. And also climate change related impacts, when you are talking about temperature, you have taken this into consideration more in terms of the changes in the climate?
No, not because in modeling, if you take every aspects, you cannot model. So considering that many things will be as of today, we can take 2 or 3 parameters and try to predict it for the future. Otherwise, because model has its own limitations. It does not take into account all the parameters. For example, soil at least.
Are you carrying out any study on the effect of temperature through screening under glass houses?
No, I am not carrying, but ICR has many institutes where different germplasms are being screened. I know, there is a National Institute of Battery Storage Management, Baramati, IARI, IIHR, many institutes. We have phenomics facilities, we have field phenomics facilities, we have greenhouses, glass houses, where they create different kinds of temperature conditions, put different kind of germplasms, and see that if temperature increase by 4 degree, 3 degree, which germplasm is doing best. Then that information is given to plant breeders who can develop better varieties. That is the general process that ICR or any research organization is doing. And in ICR, many institutes are doing it. That's why you are all, high resistance, heat resistance varieties of wheat came up, with other varieties also came up.
Nowadays, there's this narrative going around that crops planted through natural farming are more resistant to some of these temperature changes or rainfall. And I've also personally seen that when there was heavy rainfall this year, the wheat crop that was planted organically did better. So is there any scientific study or if this is true, or if there's some basis behind this?
No, this one thing is that if your organic carbon and all those things will be better, definitely basically it depends on your root, because you are drawing water, nutrient, everything from roots. Okay. So in case of you, if your organic matter content or soil health is best, your root growth, your root depth, all those things matter. Okay. So that root diversity, so that actually coming through this natural and also this the whole in a particular, if you look at a particular plant has got its own nutrient content in. Okay. And if and in natural farming, it's we call it a sustainable type of cultivation form, and where all the nutrients that is recycled, and then and if you look at this inorganic fertilizers, your strength, cellulose content, strength of the so that's why in long term the natural if you go with natural farming, it is better. But again, there are so many complications that only we cannot see that, and productivity, your insect pest, lot of things are there. And it is a very recently it has been come that a lot of emphasis being given to natural farming, and many institutes have now, I think in almost all ICR institutes have started experimentation on these natural farming components. And I think in few years we'll have a very definite result that what kind of impact, basically the two way, how this natural farming grown crops are impacting, or how climate change is reflected in the natural farming areas, that is going to come.
Thank you, sir. Please hold your questions. We will have a kind of an final discussion after all the presenters complete the presentation. Yeah, thank you, Dr.
thank
Bal,
you.
for covering the whole range of impact of temperature in different crops and the different adaptation measures what are present and how it can be facilitated in the field. So now I request Dr. Jeyaraman, who will be speaking on how soil and temperature interactions are supporting or challenging the food systems. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for giving this opportunity. I think Dr. Santanu has created a lot of heat waves through his presentation and created a lot of interest also. So thank you, organizers, for giving this wonderful opportunity. I would like to tribute and place my prayers to noble soul Professor M.S. Swaminathan sir, who is a legendary scientist as well as visionary leader, and the list is endless. So thank you. My topic would be like sustainable soil management, how it helps in bringing soil health, carbon sequestration, climate change. Some of the aspects I will be covering. So, as you are aware that the organic carbon content in most of the Indian soil is less than 0.5%, and we are facing multi-nutrient deficiencies, and particularly in Indian soils, and poor nutrient use efficiencies. If you look into the nutrient use efficiencies, the major nutrients is around 30 to 50, and phosphorus is 15 to 20%, and potassium is 50 to 75%. But if you look into the micronutrient, it is less than 5%, or some literature they say that 1 to 2% only. So these are the challenges we have in front of us. And if you look into the worldwide data, 30% of the global soil is being degraded through different kind of land degradation. One of the greatest threat to the sustainable food system, because this food system dialogue is very appropriate, since the land degradation in worldwide soil is very posing a great threat to the food system. And if you look into the Indian context, around 121 million hectares of lands have been affected through different forms of land degradation, like water erosion contributes 80 to 90, wind erosion followed by salinization, acidification, waterlogging, and so on, so forth. So why the soil health is very much important? Because the soil health is healthy soil for healthy life. Like soil health is equal to the One Health concept. Plant needs more than 16 elements for successful completion of the plant growth or life cycle. Similarly, human beings also required that much nutrients to have a healthy life also. Recently, we come across COVID-19 pandemic also, wherein we took a lot of zinc tablets or vitamin C tablets and all. So because most of the food grains have the deficient of zinc, so whenever we take zinc deficient food grains, then our body doesn't have the zinc. That's what the doctor suggested, to take a zinc tablet during overcoming that diseases during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. So we need to have a healthy soil, and in order to have that, why soil health is so important, that the United Nations General Assembly 68th convention also, they approved the World Soil Day celebration on 5th December every year. Though it started in 2014, but 2015 onwards, and worldwide there is a huge awareness, education, and involving multi-stakeholders like NGOs, state agriculture university, or universities, or educational institutions, private organizations, all have combined together to create awareness among the society. And then 2014 onwards, they have different themes to focus on the soil health. Say for example, in 2014, soil is the foundation of family farming, and like that, the ladder climbs up. And then this year we have celebrated and created awareness on soil health, that soil and water is a source of life. So just I want to give it how soil health is much important. And then because it performs many primary functions like primary productivity, water regulation and purification, carbon sequestration, and then provision of habitat and biodiversity, and nutrient cycling. This is the very important 5 ecosystem, or you can say soil functions being performed by the soil. And then generally we talk of soil quality, soil health synonymously, but soil quality is very specific attribute like physical properties, chemical properties, and biological properties. When the environment plays a major role, and then the soil condition will be affected. And then when you are comparing with the benchmark soil, and then how the soil health is being affected. If you look into the soil health itself, is the terminology is the balance of inherent soil properties, uncontrollable environmental condition, and management practices. All these things involved and bring on the impact on the soil health. And some people might have asked that how the climate change is affecting the microbial diversity. It is worldwide is reported in the scientific literature that increase of temperature has a drastic impact on the soil biodiversity. And then if you look into the 1 tablespoon or teaspoon of healthy soil may contain 10 to the power of 4 species of bacteria, 100 millions of bacteria so the soil biodiversity is very much essential to keep the or maintain or sustain the soil health. So if you look into the terminology aspect, soil health is the continued capacity of soil to function as a vital living system within a ecosystem and land use boundaries to sustain the biological productivity, maintain the quality of air and water and environment. So this is the terminology, definition you can say. So soil is very much important. And then due to many activities, anthropogenic activities like residue burning, the climate change aspect, Dr. Santanu Kumar has explained very excellently that all these factors are detrimentally affecting the soil health. And as we have noticed that whenever there is an October, November, there is residue burning in Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh, there is a lot of hue and cry in the parliament, as well as most of the news dailies. They covered a lot of aspect on how the poor quality of air leads to breathing problem, and the schools have been shut down in most of the Delhi regions. That is all mainly due to stubble burning or residue burning. It is adversely impacting the poor quality of air, or you can say climate environment. So we want to look the scenario into 2 different aspects. Say for example, the left side say what previous speaker was telling, that favorable weather conditions, the yield will be more. When the temperature rise is there, then adversely the yield gets reduced. Similarly, I visualized this two different scenarios. When favorable climatic conditions, intensive farming, and you are applying appropriate nutrient management, the nutrient or you can say the nutritive value of the produce would be better. The other side, if you look at the other side, right hand side, when unfavorable conditions, and then you are going for the subsistence farming, where you don't apply the micronutrient other kind of thing, then the produce will be different. The nutrient quality or produce nutritive value will be different. So this I want to highlight that why soil management system is or sustainable soil management is very much required, because it plays an important role in sustainable development goals also, SDGs, and soil is directly, but there is no word mentioned in the SDG. Soil word is not mentioned in the SDG. Probably many people, many elite people are there, so they might be understanding only land is somewhere mentioned, but soil word is never been mentioned in that. It was categorically mentioned by Professor Ratanlal sir also, that soil word is not mentioned in the SDGs, but soil is linking with the 5 to 7 SDGs out of 70 sustainable goals. So this the SSM is very much required, as it plays a major role. It is self-explanatory. And then one thing I want to clear is that the sustainable soil management terminology came from the sustainable development terminology. That is the World Commission on Environment and Development, 1987. They defined sustainable development, and wherein that definition and terminology has been taken for the soil management as well. The soil management that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs from the soil. This is what we should not hamper, or we should not deteriorate the soil health. So that is very much required also. So how the temperature also increase in temperature or climate change scenario, how it affects the soil processes like abiotic and biotic system. It has a direct impact, indirect impact. It is affecting, as our previous speaker said, that it's indirectly affecting the yield of the particular crop, and then quality of the produce also affect, and then net primary productivity also, that is also indirectly come into the picture. So this is another slide I would like to highlight here, that increase in temperature, there is a severe impact on the soil processes like physical, chemical and biological properties. I am due to paucity of the time, I am just touching upon and moving on the further slide. Here I would like to reiterate that many a times we only look into the NPK application, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium application. They know one of the World Food Prize winner, Professor Ratnalal sir, there is a need to shift of attention from NPK to carbon based or carbon centric based nutrient application like. So he said that the soil can sequester carbon at the rate of assay of 2.6 gigaton per year, and also the carbon plays a major role in governing the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium cycle also. So this I'd like to depict in a different way, as the carbon plays a huge role in global carbon cycle also. This we recently published in one of the book published by Professor Ratnalal sir. And then the soil system has the 2 to 3 types of carbon when compared to the atmospheric and biospheric system. That is given the data here itself. So once you concentrate on the carbon, how to improve the carbon, it automatically takes care of the soil health and climate change regulation, as my topic was suggested by the organizers, and it plays the ecosystem services. It is also addressing the Sustainable Development Goals 4 per 1000 program also. Every year we need to increase 0.4% of the carbon as per the Paris Agreement. So it is also addressing those things, and automatically the crop yield, once the soil is being improved, then automatically the crop yield is also gets improved. Recently we come across one publication on sustaining soil carbon enhancing food system. This is very much appropriate for this forum, and then this particular journal, we run a editorial of that special issue. Has been 1 lakh downloads of this particular issue. I was the lead editor of that particular journal, that is a Frontier in Sustainable Food System. So it's very appropriate for this forum. Just I'm highlighting that how it is important. We need to protect carbon through different mechanisms. This some of the people are aware, and we need to go for physically, chemically and biologically. We need to protect our carbon. In the morning session, when Professor Prabhu Pingali sir was presenting, somebody was raising question on the grassland pastoralist system. This is one system I would like to mention, that grassland system and pastoral system, and these are the very effective land use to sequester more amount of carbon. It plays a major role in carbon cycle as well. So this is what I would like to mention here, that, and then some of the data says that very interesting also, the moment you go for the conversion of forest vegetation or perennial vegetation to the agriculture, then you are already lost 50 to 70% of the carbon present in the soil. So one global meta-analysis says that if you convert from the forest to pasture or pasture to agriculture, then you are losing 70% of the carbon, and within 5 to 6 years. The moment you go from the reverse side, it takes quite long time to sequester same amount of the lost carbon. This is I would like to mention here. And another thing I would like to share, that COP conference and 14 and other 28, everything they were discussing in the morning and as well as this afternoon session also. So we are also, India has committed for the land degradation neutrality. Sustainable soil management has a direct role with the land degradation neutrality. We need to restore the degraded lands. Previously it was mentioned as 147 million hectares, now 128 million hectares. Through different interventions, we need to reduce the, or we need to reverse the land degradation. And India committed to achieve 26 million hectares up to 2030. At the rate of approximately 2 million hectares per year. Whether we are heading towards that goal, that is a real question mark. Whether we are able to achieve the 2 million hectare reversible or reversed soils from that degraded position is a big question mark. So here I have conceptualized that how sustainable soil management addressing the land degradation neutrality, that we need to go for different measures like conservation measures, like soil and water measures, water conservation measures, conservation agriculture, that I will talk some of the aspects in the latter part of my presentation. Balanced integrated nutrient management, management practices involving so much of activities, because we need to go for the ideal nutrient recommendation 4:2:1. Whether are you following that kind of recommendation in our agriculture farming? That is another question mark. And then we have to go for integrated farming system. The moment you take care of the improving soil health through SSM, automatically you are reversing the land degradation, other side of the thing. This I conceptualized how we need to proceed to achieve this one. And then another thing, landscape of technology was people are discussing that how to address a different kind of scenario. We need to go for the regenerative agriculture, wherein it helps to revert land degradation, maximize crop productivity per unit area, and also enhances the carbon storage, and it helps in addressing the ecosystem services as well. So 5 minutes, okay, thank you, ma'am. If we go for the conservation agriculture, wherein minimum soil disturbances, maximum soil cover, diversified cropping system or rotation, thereby you can save up to 50 to 60% compared to conventional farming. And then water use efficiency also got increased by 15 to 30%. Soil, water and runoff losses also reduced under this system. So it is very sustainable system. Recently we came with one book on conservation agriculture. And then here I want to share one information that if you go for the conventional farming, how much carbon is infused after 8 or 9 year period with the initial value. Whereas if you go for the no-tillage practice, that is conservation agriculture practices, how much carbon is increased. This is very clearly debating that if you go for the sustainable soil management practice involving this minimum disturbances, maximum crop residue addition, definitely there is a increase in the carbon content that we also published in one of the leading journal, critical reviews in plant sciences as well. And then rapid recycling of organic waste. This is the product we are coming out with the consortia based microbial spray for enhanced decomposition. Thereby the carbon addition into the soil takes place. And then this is I would like to share with you all that how if you go for a long term of conservation agriculture, is there any improvement is there? It is a 47 years old experiment, and then we quantified that how much carbon is there. Whenever we go for the no-tillage, crop residue addition, along with that appropriate nitrogen management, that is also important role, I will cover in the later part. That helps in building up with the carbon stuff. Similarly, nitrogen stocks also. And then some study also validate here that other side you see that 0 to 40 centimeter, wherever you go for the no-tillage and conventional tillage, up to 20 years of no-tillage experiment, there is a clear-cut improvement in the soil organic carbon stock also. And then if you look into the climate impact, the carbon stock under the different climatic conditions, if the temperature is increasing, then how the carbon stocks are, this is very clearly indicating that how the temperature impacts on the SOC stocks. And then We also quantified the soil quality index, that how these management practices affect your system. Wherever you go for the conservation based system, the soil quality also gets improved. So this crops under the CA based system, that is conservation agriculture based system, found to be a climate resilient one, able to withstand a higher waterlogging. At the same time, is there any water stress is there, it is able to cope up with that system. So some of the other techniques like mulching, organic manures like green manures, and then FOM, it helps to improve the carbon. And then this is not taking taking place in a rampant manner in India. So we need to maximize the addition of organic manure into the soil for increasing the carbon as well as soil health. And then this is one aspect. Another aspect, we need to go for the appropriate conservation measures also. Soil water conservation measures. Depends upon the slope, you need to go for broadband furrow and counterbands, conservation furrows and vegetative barrier. Depends upon the slope. And wherever that BPA followed, we can escape with the waterlogged condition, and it has been proved that it is performing better under the waterlogged vertisol regions of Madhya Pradesh. So we have also quantified how carbon stocks are there. Wherever you go for that BBF with no tillage and BBF with reduced tillage, the carbon stocks is better under this system. Similarly, moisture, and then this is up to less than 6% slope. If you move forward with the 6 to more than 35% slope, that is example of Nilgiris, wherein slope is more than 35%. You need to go for a bench terrace, and then in the bench terrace you can go for the potato cultivation. In the tabletop rises, you can go for the tea, geranium, other kind of medicinal plants to reduce the runoff and soil erosion also. So this is the one of the best example that how the tea risers, or you can say face of the terraces, can be protected through tea plantation. And similarly, in the morning there was a question that we need to maximize the productivity by appropriate nutrient management also. Dr. Pingley sir was explaining. So we need to go for the appropriate nutrient management also to address the productivity. As at the same time there was a excess use of if you are applying excess amount of nitrogenous fertilizer, you are facilitating, or you can say favoring, nitrous oxide emission. So that is also can be looked into. And then these are the major issues with the fertilizer use. So just I am skipping these slides. One thing I would like to share here, that how the fertilizer use under the north, south, west and east. If the eastern part, the fertilizer use 143, whereas north is almost 190, south 175, western side 96 kg per hectare. There is a skewed distribution of fertilizer usage, but the ideal ratio is 4:2:1. How it is behaving, you can have a glimpse of how the fertilizer being applied under the different scenario. Thus, we need to go for the site-specific nutrient or integrated nutrient management. Like we need to set the how much yield target should be there. Accordingly, you need to go for the nutrient recommendation. Then we need to go for the soil test based nutrient recommendation, as well as how much nutrient is being taken from the soil. You need to replenish with the right amount or appropriate amount of the soil. Ma'am, couple of minutes. Okay. Thank you. So use of ICTs is playing a bigger role nowadays. Sensor based water and nutrient application, and then on the go sensor also mounted in the tractor. That is also another approach we can go for it. And then we have to integrate, as I already mentioned, this thing, that what would be the benefit of following SCCR based INM practices, what would be the demerits of going for the general recommended dose without testing the soil. So this is also, we have conducted 50 long years of long-term fertilizer experiment. Wherever you go for the 100% NPK along with the FOM, then you see the nitrogen use efficiency is a quite increasing trend is observed under the 100% NPK plus 100% NPK plus FOM. Whereas N alone is used, what would be the use efficiency? NP used, nitrogen phosphorus used, what would be the use efficiency? It is a very clear-cut long-term data depicting that what should be our strategy for sustaining the crop productivity as well as the soil health. And then similarly we did, this is also another simulation model study, and then we found that generally we used to apply 120 kg of nitrogen for wheat crop, but carbon is being sequestered at that estimated 155 kg nitrogen. If you apply, then there is a good crop yield is there. At the same time, we are sequestering more amount of carbon. This is under the different best treatments we have taken, and then 100% NPK and plus FOM proved to be the SOC sequestered is higher under this treatment. This is we have Dr. Mohanty and our team has done this work. And then similarly we projected that soil carbon dynamics under the long-term field experiment, under using the Rossi model, that under the different scenario, like Dr. Santanu was explaining, that under different scenario, what would be the best option to go for sequestering carbon. And then similarly, another important thing Dr. Sinha and co-workers has done, that under the minimum crop residue threshold, that is what should be the threshold value for the carbon benefits. 10% crop residue under the low initial soil organic carbon, high nitrogen. Like that, different scenario, what should be the appropriate amount of residue should be kept. This is the vulnerability also we have assessed. I am skipping these slides. And then this is one aspect, somebody was mentioning that we need to go for the integrated approach also, integrated farming approach to improve the livelihood. Not only we are focusing on the soil health is one aspect we are taking care, and then crop productivity, agronomic productivity will be increased. But at the same time, we need to go for the integrated approach to have the livelihood improvement of the farming community. This is the landscape approach. We have prepared that what should be the strategy in future to address the farming community issues. And then we need to go for the alternate land use to address the productivity, stability and resilience, protection, viability and acceptability. And then this will take care of the these system, alternate land use system like agri-horti, agri-silviculture, alley cropping, silvipatcher. All these helps in reverting land degradation, or you can say improving the soil health. And then these are the priorities we need to address. We use of INM practices, STCR based use of liquid fertilizer, conservation agriculture, appropriate soil and water conservation, as I mentioned. These are the different strategies we need to adapt. And then the food security not only addressing taking one particular problem in isolation. We need to take the food security, the sustainable food system, the food system dialogue, considering all the aspects, then we need to attain the food and nutrition security. So this is the thing. And then the strategies, what I was planning, that what should be the strategies to attain the soil health or improving the crop productivity, ecosystem services, everything. The education and training, and then measurement of key indicators, and then we need to go for the economic aspect as well, and the research and development, benefits, policy interventions, all linked to each other. So this is how we need to go for any implementation or policy kind of thing. This is my viewpoint, and the conclusion and way forward. Future agriculture is the crisis, the phase of rapid soil degradation, collapsing soil health, everything I mentioned, and at the same time the deteriorating soil biodiversity also. So soil should be managed efficiently, protect and enhance biodiversity, health and sustainability, and also to prevent the degradation. And then we need to go for the site-specific nutrient management involving ICTs, sensor-based, and then even nowadays rapid soil testing, spectroscopy, Modeling aspect also, I think Dr. Rahul Tripathy will be dealing about some of the modeling aspect as well. So policy implementation also, we need to incentivize the farmers who are going for the ecosystem services, like farmers keeping 5 tons of crop residue on the field. Whether we are incentivizing those farmers and those farmers are burning the residue, whether we are putting a penalty to them because they are creating the poor air quality and then it is affecting the ecosystem services, that kind of things has to be addressed. So one more thing, the strong linkages are required to achieve the land degradation equality. Not only going for the only soil and water conservation measures, the convergence. So in the morning we were discussing that convergence of different ministries, different organizations, different players. So then only we can able to achieve the land degradation neutrality. With this, I thank my director, both the institute. Previously, I was in Indian Institute of Soil Science for 15 long years. Then I got head and moved to the Nilgiris. So both the director, IISS as well as IISWC, Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation. Most importantly, the organizers who gave this opportunity to be here to present my views and experience for the last 23 years. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Gopinath and Dr. David. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. So, over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for highlighting different options available for improving. We will come back why it is not working, why it is working. So, what support services further needed to make them work in the field. Yeah. Any immediate questions for clarification? We will take it up 1 or 2, otherwise we'll move to the next session. Next presentation. Yes.
Yeah.
In the slide on nutrient use efficiency on mollysols, I saw there was a slight decline in FYM plus NPK compared to NPK. Why was that so? In the case of Punjab, I think.
Punjab?
Yeah,
how much? What was
it was 49 there and it was 50 or something in the other side.
Okay, I need to check it.
Okay, because that was only the discrepancy. Otherwise, everywhere
Everywhere there may be some initial carbon value might be less. Probably that might be the reason. I will check those things.
Which slide is that? Which slide is that?
That was on nutrient use efficiency.
4:1 NPK ratio, is it universal or it should vary from side to side?
That is the ideal ratio we need to follow, but that has to be also that depends upon the soil initial organic carbon and the nutrient content also. You can, some of the soil is rich in phosphorus, you can skip the phosphorus also. Nowadays, based on the long-term fertilizer experiment, phosphorus holiday they are saying. If the phosphorus is because you are applying continuously because highly immovable nutrient, so there is a huge buildup of phosphorus is there. So the people are saying that now based on that LTFE experiment, phosphorus holiday, that you can skip 1 or 2 seasons and then again you come back to the like that. It's not a universal, it's an ideal condition. It's never been taken as that is the strict ratio we need to follow, but that is the ideal ratio we need to apply for it.
Punjab is being blamed by having highest NPK.
Yeah, that's what I have shown in the northern side also. We need to be wise enough in choosing our because you are giving money and purchasing the fertilizer. Once that is what we need to go for soil test based value because already we are applying more amount of nitrogen compared to the other fertilizers.
I think some changes in the nutrient based pricing policy, they can bring this balance. But somehow it has not happened for the last 20 years.
No, now they are coming up with the kind of nutrient based subsidy and all one.
Yeah, it's already there, but nitrogen is out of it.
Just 2 questions. So first is, so we talked about the approach from NPK to CNPK. So just want to understand for the soil health card scheme, is there any other indicators that we need to measure? We already measure macro, micro nutrients and also organic carbon plus I think few physical parameters. So just want to check if there are if there's any other recommendation from the scientific community of additional indicators that need to be measured. That is number, yeah.
Okay,
Maybe.
okay, tell me, please,
Yeah.
please.
Sure. The second question is the storage versus sequestration debate. So the science also would like to understand from you where we stand on the storage versus sequestration debate. While there is obviously storage, but again the problem is that there is active microbial population, there is respiration of SOC throughout. So it's a dynamic process, right? So just want to understand then how much of the carbon that is stored is sequestered. So how much of this is recalcitrant carbon that's going to be stored in the soil. Also looking at this from the angle of incentivizing farmers for climate mitigation. So only when there is concrete evidence for let's say sequestration in soil, so we can incentivize, right? So just want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's very good question asked because in the soil health card there are most of the parameters are chemical based like nitrogen, phosphorus, pH, EC like that. We only focus on organic carbon. Something which is a ready reckoner or a ready indicator, you can say soil microbial biomass carbon also. That is another very sensitive indicator for the management practices. And then one more point, the small quantity of increase in carbon makes a big difference in the soil processes as well, and then it ultimately impact on the soil health. That is one thing. Regarding one more thing you are asking, that carbon storage, carbon sequestration. Generally, carbon sequestration terminology used 20 to 30 years of under the agroforestry or forest vegetation or perennial vegetation. We use the terminology like sequestration. For arable cropping, at least 5 to 10 years. For me, publishing one article, I was waiting 4 to 5 years of implementing continuously the conservation agriculture practices. Probably people from Punjab and Haryana, they can understand that no-till farming, wherein residue retention, they rice residue, they keep around 3 to 5 tons of residue. Similarly, in rainfed region, we may not have that much of residue. Around 2 to 3 tons of residue, wheat residue we can retain. And continuously retaining means addition of the residue, able to increase the carbon. And then storage is only in the narrow term, or you can say 5 to 10 years of time. But sequestration under the agroforestry and perennial, this is what I want to say. Incentives of farmers also very much important. We need to promote, as my conclusion also I said, a farmer is keeping 5 ton of residue, is not given any kind of residue. A farmer is burning a residue, and we are treating both the farmers on par in giving the subsidy also, fertilizer, everything. So once you give the incentivize or subsidy based on their effort for the ecosystem services, then definitely there is a change in our approach also would be there. This is my humble submission.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Yeah,
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I have taken a longer time.
Yeah.
This is a book we recently, Sustainable Soil Management, along with Professor Ratan Lal and Professor Ram Dalal. Dalal sir is in Australia, and Ratan Lal sir is in US. So I was fortunate to write this book on sustainable soil. One more thing, this book forward is written by Professor Swaminathan sir. So that's what I put my dedication of this lecture to the Professor Swaminathan sir in the first slide. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Maybe during the discussion we will take it up, because now the changing production systems, like we are moving to sustainable agriculture, to natural farming, or some kind of organic farming systems where how soil health is measured. So the typical soil health card covers physical chemical properties, not even physical chemical properties are being covered, both macro and micronutrients. But in the natural farming systems, those indicators may not be sufficient for the farmers to take decisions. So let's discuss during the conversation session how those approaches can be bring in. Now we move to the next presenter, Dr. Anushiya. She will be speaking on how the diurnal temperature variations are impacting the food systems. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, madam, for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, all. So, thank you, Dr. Bal and Dr. Jeyaraman. And Dr. Bal already discussed DTR in his presentation. Maybe we will go in depth into that. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So now we are in the warmer world. We know that. So this is the this picture denotes the past 174-year anomalies till date. Actually, so WMO, World Meteorological Organization, has announced this 2023 is the warmest year ever in the past 174 years, and the warming may continue. This warms will trigger 2024. So you can see this data is from NOAA. This red color is the highest warmer year, and green is the recent one. Already in 2023, we have crossed 1.15 degrees centigrade. It's Paris Agreement has agreed. We had agreement of we have to stick to 1.5 degree. Already we are crossing 1.15 degrees centigrade. So Indians' average temperature also risen by 0.7 during last 100 years. So it's not about only the temperature. The frequency and intensity of hot extremes also increased, and those cold extremes also increased in the global scale. Since 1950, see, once in 100 years, once in 10 years event, has increased now. In 1850 to 900, the once in event in hot extremes is now at present 2 to 3 events in 10 years. And it will go increase in the future climate scenarios also. Now the extremities are becoming the new normals now. See, in India also, even MOS report, already Dr. Bal also informed and discussed there is an increase in the heat waves. It's not only the heat waves, the number of days which temperature above 30 degree also is increasing much. You can see the clear shift in the number of days above 30 degrees centigrade. In the recent period 1991 to 2000, there is a clear shift. So even now the IPCC and CCIDI has announced come up with the new CID, climate impact drivers and extreme indices. It includes it's not only maximum temperature, minimum temperature, heat index and humidity index. There are so many indices are there. One such index is the diurnal temperature range. Diurnal temperature range is, as already Dr. Bal mentioned, is the difference between the day and night temperature. Why it is important? See, normally the diurnal temperature range depends upon the location and weather conditions. Maybe it depends on the geographical locations and the latitude, altitude also it's matter, and the weather patterns also is matter, and land use also is matter, and sometimes the local factors like microclimates. But in the recent decades, the nighttime temperature has warmed much than the maximum temperature. So the diurnal temperature, the difference between the day and night temperature is shrinking. Before, for example, in Delhi, the daytime temperature, the daytime temperature 40. During normal summer months, 30 to 40, and winter may be the 10 to 15 maybe. But now the difference may be the 20 degrees centigrade. Now it is shrinking like it is coming around the 5 to 9 degrees centigrade, 10 degrees centigrade. But this is not this will differ for each and every locations actually. Throughout the globe, there is a shrinking temperature is observed throughout the globe. So you can see this data plays a crucial role in wide range of natural processes affecting ecosystems, agriculture, and human comfort. A narrowing DTR will indicate the broader climate change impacts and critical insights into the climate trends and the implications, and this monitoring of DTR will serve the vital role in the climate scientists. And understanding and monitoring DTR variations contribute to the better informed decisions in the various fields, including agriculture and food security. And this is the global scenario. And even IPCC AR5 identified diurnal temperature range is the substantial knowledge gap. And in recent IPCC AR6 report highlighted that there is ambiguity in the pre-1950 estimates arising from the sparse data availability, but they have agreed that DTR had decreased globally, with the most of the decrease occurring over the period of this 1960 to 80 period. This is the recent study. In this recent study, the global land surface temperature DTR significantly decreased at the rate of minus 0.0636 degrees centigrade per decade during 1901 to 1914 period, mainly due to the large decrease in the recent period. And this is the Indian scenario, and this report comes from Mal et al. Has studied the evidence of asymmetric change in the diurnal temperature range in the recent decades, and they also come up with the DTR's the relative increase in the minimum temperature compared to the maximum temperature as a result of decreasing DTR trend. Decreasing DTR trend is 0.02 degrees centigrade per decade. And this is evident from the 5 out of the 14 agroclimatic zones of the during 1991 to 2006 period. And potential impacts on soil, crop and food system. Dr. Bal already discussed how the temperature will affect the food system, soil, and Jeyaraman also discussed about this. But the DTR also has the own implications on the food security and soil health, and it has more impacts on thermal, human health and other impacts also there. But here we will say only on the soil, crop and food systems. Maybe it affects the already Dr. I'm not going in depth into that. It affects the plant physiology and phenology and soil moisture, changes in the evaporation rates, and mainly it will have the compounding effects. What's compounding effect? But in recent decades, even the IPCC reports also suggested in the coming decades there will be a compounding effect and cascading effects of climate risk. So nowadays climate risks are happening. It's not in a single event. It's combinedly it's happening actually. So like wildfire and droughts, and even the DTR also it's having the compound effects on many hazards like floods, droughts and forest fires, etc. So this interesting study I want to discuss with you, I want to showcase with you. And this study is done by Sunaj et al. This published in this here. They have taken the optimum mean daytime and nighttime temperature and with 3 thresholds of DTRs. And they find out that high mean daytime and nighttime temperature has negative impacts on the physiology and growth, and narrowing the diurnal temperature amplitude resulted the increase in night respiration by utilizing carbohydrate for maintenance of rather than the growth. So it will ultimately affect the decrease in the crop yield, leads to the low production. So as already discussed, it will have the compounding effects on the food system. For example, the heat extremes, the DTRs and the drought, it will increase the heat stress, and this is the cascading risk. It will reduce the yield and reduce the productivity, increase the food price, and it affects the local effects, and altogether the local effects combinedly go to the potentially impact the global one. So here, I'm from CSTEP. We are doing the mainly we are developing the tools and techniques for the addressing all the data gaps. And recently we have developed the DTR tool, because again here in a country it's all over, there is a data gap actually. So this is the freely accessible tool, and with the use of satellite data and Google Earth Engine, we developed this tool to download the DTR data. And from 2000 onwards, 2002 to till date, images were taken from the MODIS data, and district specific, block specific, state specific, whatever data you can download it from here. This is the user friendly, and this is the one of our ongoing study, how the land surface temperature, diurnal temperature has the effects on the surface soil. Actually, this is just a glimpse actually, and we are doing for nearly for 23 years. Just I'm showing it for only 2021. You can see the patterns highly relating the diurnal temperature range patterns highly related to the soil moisture. Yeah, and again the DTR trend we have analyzed during 2000 to 2023. Almost all the states has the decreasing trend of DTR, that is the shrinking DTR. So Gujarat has the maximum shrinking, and Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka has the maximum shrinking, and some states it has the shrink of minus 0.2. And that's the March month diurnal temperature, especially also it will differ actually. So there's a high decreasing DTR trend observed in the central and west part of the India, rather outside. So this is the way for the just I'm concluding this. So DTR is we need an adequate understanding of how phenology and food systems respond to the compounding effects of the warming asymmetry, and DTR should be carefully considered for species-specific responses to the current and future warmer climate. We have unfold the scenarios, and just for the curiosity I'm asking, so far I didn't have any study on DTR on plant specific study in India. Maybe I may be wrong. Dr. Bal and Jeyaraman may help me actually. There are many studies on maximum temperature and minimum temperature effects, and I'm seeing very few limited studies on the DTR impacts on the soil and plant studies. So they have to set a stage for this also. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anushiya. Because this particular indicator is not being used adequately to understand the complexities in the food systems. Maybe in the coming days, since the data is accessible in open access and awareness is also rising, so its implication will be further helpful for us to take this indicator into the analysis and understand the complexities to evolve suitable site-specific adaptation measures. So, if there is no questions, immediate questions, we will move to the next speaker, Dr. Rahul Tripathy from NRRI.
Good afternoon, respected delegates. So I'll be presenting about the impact of temperature, particularly on rice. So as my previous speakers, they have made my task easy because the major impact on agriculture and the soil they have already presented. So just to start with, I'll be just presenting the effect of the temperature and turn climate change on agriculture, and then I will focus on how we can adopt some strategies to combat the effect on rice. So let us okay. So as we know that the climate change, this is because of the now increase of greenhouse gases, and the rice is termed as the major culprit crop to emit the greenhouse gases. So now I'll be in my later slides I will be presenting some of the strategies how we can reduce the greenhouse gases by adopting some of the strategy. Similarly, like many previous speakers have told that mean temperature has increased by around 1 degree centigrade, then this is the actually the old data. So the warmest years are now increasing. If we analyze the previous year's data, seasons are also shifting. Like earlier, the sowing date and the harvesting date were different if we analyze 15-20 years back, and now the date of sowing and date of harvesting is also changing. Similarly, rainfall variability has also changed intensity. Like sometimes the intensity is very high, but the distribution is very difficult. It's not uniformly distributed. So that is also one of the major challenge, frequency. Then glaciers retreating, sea level rising, new insects, diseases emerging, because you might have heard about the army worm. Suddenly it appeared in the northeastern part of India, and it created havoc. Like insects, they are moving from one northwestern part of the country and like moving to other. So these kind of happenings are increasing because of the changing climatic scenario. So this the changing temperature and in turn climate change has caused the different extreme events, like the frequency of cyclones have increased, frequency of heavy rains have increased, heat waves, flood, drought. So drought frequency, which was very less in earlier times, now it has increased significantly. So if we analyze the data from last 80 to 2019, you can see here that heat waves, it has increased from 9.9 to 23.55. It means 137% increase is there in heat waves. Similarly, cold waves, flood, rainfall, lightning, cyclones. So we can see that there is a significant change if we analyze the data, current data, in terms of the past average data. Now if we overall India, if we see, there is like variation in different states also. So you can see the number of events in some parts of India, they are constantly higher compared to other parts. Like here, highest number of extreme weather events, like more than 15% were in Maharashtra, and similarly the list is there. So how, I mean, the extreme events has occurred in different parts of India. This is a report from IMD that which are the districts which are most vulnerable to the change in temperature. So you can see here the distribution, like the western part of India, that is more vulnerable for temperature increase compared to the eastern, northeastern part and southern part. Now coming to how this climate change can impact agriculture. Like first is the temperature is has increased from last year's, as already previous speakers have told, and then this temperature increase is coupled with weather hazards like cyclones, sea level rise, and this is creating many extreme events which are impacting the agriculture, like drought and floods. So these droughts, not only the abiotic stresses like drought and flood, but also the biotic stresses, which I said, like insect pest damage and other diseases, the frequency and their intensity has increased over the years. So overall we can summarize that these climate changes are actually increasing flood, waterlogging, high temperature during flowering. Like you see, why seasons are shifting? Because there is a particular temperature, like previous speaker has said, for the crop growth, optimum crop growth. And if suppose there is high temperature during flowering, there will be chaffiness, means grains will not be formed. So there will be a drastic reduction in the yield. So these occurrences have increased. Similarly, low temperature during flowering or low temperature during germination. Like suppose some parts of India, rice is cultivated in Rabi season also. So when during December temperature drops very significantly, and that time germination is not there. So that problem is also there. Then low temperature during flowering also is a problem. That time also, if the temperature is below the optimum, so there will be a drastic reduction in yield. So okay, so these are actually the rainfall distribution. Already previous speaker has spoken about this. How if we analyze the last data, you can see that departure from the normal. So red one is departure. I mean, in 2009 it was 23% departure, less rainfall compared to the normal average rainfall. Now this is coming to the impact of high temperature on rice, high or variability in temperature, we can say. So we conducted one study. We have one long-term experiment in National Rice Research Institute from 1969. So we studied that if we saw the maximum temperature, the average of maximum temperature, it was mean plus 1 degree centigrade, it was higher. Then the treatments, actually we have 10 treatments, but we analyzed only 3 treatments, control in which we have not added anything. but we have NPK and 1 NPK plus FIM. So we mean to say that when we are adding the farmyard manure, the effect of temperature is reduced. I mean the high temperature effect is significantly reduced, although it is there, I mean reduction is there in the yield, but the yield is less compared to the control and NPK. Similarly, when we studied the minimum temperature, so when minimum temperature was also increased to the tune of 1 degree centigrade from long term average, but it has caused increase during, if that minimum temperature was higher during ripening stage, because we have different stages, vegetative, reproductive, ripening. So during ripening only if it was higher, so it has a positive impact on yield. So now coming to how we can adapt to the temperature and climatic changes, particularly in rice. So this is in general for adapting any adaptation measure, we have to have what are the types of adaptation, then timing also that has to be matched, various inputs that has to be provided on right time. If that is not provided, like climate resilient varieties, we have different climate resilient varieties for rice. For drought, flood, moisture stress, high temperature, we have different kind of rice varieties, but there is some gap when it is, it is not reaching to the farmers, so we have to see how it can reach to the potential users. Similarly, we have to adjustment in the capital stock, planning, research and role of government, because now I will be showing some of the results of DSR, like government particularly in Odisha, it is focusing on spreading the direct seeded rice system in place of transplanted rice. So it has, a very huge money has been floated, and in a very large scale this has a demonstration is being taken place. So that kind of investment is required from government also to enhance these kind of adaptation measures. So now, but how adaptation measures has to be decided? So there has to be a specific mechanism. Like first we have to see that what are the major stresses which are happening in the area, like drought during vegetative stage or drought is occurring during reproductive stage. We have to identify that, because drought at some suppose if it is after 30-40 days, if it is coming for 10 days, it may not impact that much when it is occurring at during flowering stage. So that has to be seen, low temperature, high temperature. So these are the stresses. So what is the stress actually we have to identify. Then we have to see the adaptation measures, like whether there is capability of farmers to adopt or not, whether it can be adopted or that area is suitable for this kind of adaptation measure which we are trying to disseminate. So we have to see whether that adaptation can be done, then which season, then what is the ecology. In case of rice I am telling, because for other crops this may not be that much significant, like irrigated, upland, rainfed lowland, deep water. Rice is grown in diverse ecology. Then the adaptation measures are two types. Like one is agronomical measures, which we scientists or the researchers, which we are doing experiments and giving some of the suggestions, like sensor based irrigation. This is just for example. So these are the measures which are coming from the research stations. Then one is socio-economical and financial measures, which the role of the economic status of the farmers as well as the government institutions, policy makers role comes here. Now any adaptation measure we have to just see how it is going to impact, like whether it is increasing the yield or it is reducing the greenhouse gas emission or it is increasing the income. Like suppose if we have diversified the rice to maize or some pulses, so it can fetch higher price. So what it is doing, unless it is giving significant advantage, there is no point of selecting that adaptation measure. So if those agronomical and the socio-economical and policy maker decision matches, then that decision has to be taken for those adaptation measures. Now these are some of the adaptation measures, long list we have, Sundaram sir was telling about rice, so many adaptation measures. I can put a long list of around 50 adaptation measures, so I am not going into detail. I will just focus on some of the adaptation measures which we have done experiments, like for rice, you might have heard about system of rice intensification 3 and the DSR, which is now much talked about measure. So we have done experiment like these 3 AWD means alternate wetting and drying. DSR also we have done 2 types, like conventional flooding, we have flooded with like as conventional practice is followed, and we have done DSR with AWD. So that we have seen that when we are following the alternate wetting and drying in DSR, the advantages is manifold. Like in terms of the irrigation water productivity, you can see it has tremendous increase in irrigation water productivity. And similarly, in case of like cost of cultivation also reduces because the transplantation cost is reduced. Of course, there is cost of the tractor, seed drill and other things, but even then some cost is reduced. And yield, I cannot say that we have achieved higher yield than transplanted rice, but of course it was at par. So the input cost is less and the output is we can say higher, and this is evident in energy productivity and benefit cost ratio also. So I am not going into detail like the percentages. So, and this is like the measure, like we are talking about climate change. So we measured the greenhouse gas emissions like methane, nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide also, and we measured what is the global warming potential of different technologies which we are going to like disseminate. So here also we can say that DSR, there is like trade-off between methane and nitrous oxide, because DSR we are following alternate wetting and drying, so there is oxidative kind of situation, so nitrous oxide emission is higher. But in transplanted rice, the reduced condition is there, methane emission is higher, but nitrous oxide emission is less. So that trade-off is always there, but of course if you see the global warming potential, that is less in case of DSR rice. Similarly, I mean we have to like see that rice has to be diversified in some areas, like where rainfall is minimum, like northwestern part of country, like many government government is trying to diversify it. Eastern India, where rainfall is around 1500-1600 millimeter, you do not have any option to grow other than rice. So that is the situation. So but in Rabi season, where we can diversify rice, in place of rice we can grow other crops and we can create market to farmers, because if there will be no market, they will be not going for growing that crop. We can see the MSP and other situation that government may think, but as a scientist we can like say, we have analyzed that if we have diversified the rice with other like maize, sunflower, green gram, black gram, the nitrogen use efficiency, elevation, water productivity, benefit cost ratio, that has significantly improved. And similarly the global warming potential in terms of the greenhouse gas emission is also reduced, because rice, of course, it is higher emitter than the other crops. So that also has been reduced if we calculate system wise global warming potential. Similarly, the one aspect is like in the morning I was seeing that there was one presentation that somebody was saying that there is a subsidy on fertilizer. So I am not going to comment on that, but here we can say that if we apply the right time, particularly nitrogenous fertilizer, right time and right dose. If we apply at right time, even right dose, if it is not applied at right time, it will lead to emission as well as reduction in the yield. So we have devised like CLCC and Rice and Export. Rice and Export is a mobile based device. This is like a digital LCC which in our institute we have developed, and any user can download it freely. It is available in Google Play Store, and go and take 10 photographs in the rice field, and it will tell that there is need to apply the fertilizer, and if it is no need, it will say no need to apply fertilizer. If there is need, how much fertilizer you need to apply, it is saying. So we have seen that if we have used the right time and right dose using these tools in our experimental fields, in farmers field, so there is significant reduction of the greenhouse gases as well as the increase in productivity also. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Any immediate questions or clarifications? Yeah, please.
Thank you. All these have been really interesting to me. I just asked two questions which are probably outside the scope of this work. What does all this do for the mindset of farmers? And what does it do for the income of farmers? And if that's not for this seminar, then if there's somewhere where I can look, please tell me where to look. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very relevant question to this topic. Actually, while going to the farmers, we have actually some of the projects in which we are taking large scale demonstration in the farmers field. So of course they do not think about environmental perspective. They do not have to take anything about greenhouse gas emission or how it is going to negatively impact the environment. But of course they are more concerned with the cost reduction as well as their production enhancement. And that we are able to show them like these technologies, because we are focusing to them on their cost reduction and productivity enhancement. But as we have to see the environmental perspective, so we are keeping those measurements, and that is for our knowledge and use.
Sir, I have just one query, not query, I would say it's out of curiosity. We are promoting soil health cards. We are saying get your soil tested, and based on the results you do input to the soil. And the last slide where you shown me those apps.
Yes.
So what I know, I am hearing about these apps for the first time through your presentations. Why is government not promoting these things? This is really more easier, more feasible, if just based on photographs farmer can get to know. And why are these not being mainstreamed?
Yeah, I got your question. Actually, the thing is, soil health card is having 12 parameters in that. Okay, government is also thinking to include some more, but right now it is having 12 parameters, right? Including pH, EC, major nutrients, micronutrient and SOC. But the thing is, this app is mainly for nitrogen, because nitrogen is very important. This is a mobile nutrient. Like if suppose we apply suppose 50 kg nitrogen. So if plant has not taken those 50 kg, only 30% nitrogen is efficiency there, 70% is still lost. But that will be lost forever, and it will go to streams and ponds, and it will cause eutrophication and other kinds of pollution. But phosphorus and potassium still they are in the soil. They are not lost so easily. So soil health card is like recommending the total amount of fertilizer needs to be applied. Like suppose NPK 80-40-40 or 120-50-50. But this app is for exactly at which stage you need to apply. This is telling that. So we can use both.
Is it possible to cover other parameters in the same app?
No, because the nitrogen is having like this digital app is made based on the reflectance of the leaf. Color of leaf. Other nutrients do not have that much of high correlation with the greenness. So that's why this is at this point of time it's difficult.
Actually, farmer decides based on his perception. He sees the color of the crop and decides to apply.
Right.
He sees the color of the crop and he doesn't apply. These apps, they seldom work with the farmers.
Yeah.
Of course, these are good.
Sir, but nowadays those experienced farmers are not there in the field. That's the reason. That's the reason why we have developed, because those experienced farmers, they are now not in the agriculture. The younger generation, they are moving in other direction. So that's why we have to have the technology to support the farmers.
Right.
The optimization of nitrogen has a bigger role in nitrous oxide emission also.
Yes.
The optimum amount, you are reducing the nitrous oxide, which is a more potential greenhouse gas emission, 321 times potent than the carbon dioxide. So optimum through this app would minimize the nitrous oxide emission.
Yeah, so in one of the slides you have shown that SRI systems of price intensification, nitrous oxide emissions is high, and methane emission is low. So as from a climate mitigation perspective, whether the SRI as a technique is recommended, now you have come to that stage of more in terms of from the ICR system?
Sir, SRI is actually there are many versions of SRI. SRI cannot be recommended anywhere. Like there are certain ecology where SRI can be recommended. So and why actually nitrous oxide emission is higher, I have already told. There is we are following alternate wetting and drying. So in that there is like oxidative condition. There is oxygen in the soil. So that's why nitrogen is converted into nitrous oxide, and that's that emission is higher. So that's what I mean. We have to balance between the overall global warming potential. If you see, that may be lower, but SRI cannot be recommended everywhere. We are not recommending everywhere. It is for certain ecologies, and we have to see that ecology to recommend that.
Sir, my question is, I mean, not a question, but I differ on you with one statement that you made. I think someone, Mr. Nabarro, asked you, what does this have to do with the bottom line of the farmer? And you said that we only tell the farmer what is, like he has to cost has to come down and his production will go up. And all these technical issues you only talk about in these seminars. I differ here that if you tell the farmer, he will, I mean, he's not dumb, he understands, but we have to take these issues to him. We have to, like the things that we hear in like all these seminars, how, what people in let's say Delhi or New York or whatever are talking about. So these issues also we need to take it to the farmer, and in a simplified way, we need to tell him how it is going to impact his future generations, because now what we are talking about here, like for example the water, the soil, so the farmer understands that, and if you explain to him that in the next 15 years, 20 years, maybe the next generation might not be able to live off the land, and this is what we are doing, and we need your cooperation. So it's not just you, my request to the food system dialogue also, that we need to take these issues in a simplified way, and we need to take it to the grassroots level, like you said, blocks and districts. And so it's good when we talk about here in Delhi, you know, we are talking in English and everything, but we need to take it to the block level. This dialogue, this food system dialogue needs to be taken to the ground level, and many, I'm just saying, and then people will understand it is happening, but it is not happening at the scale, the things that are changing, like they're saying water will run out, temperature, we have messed it up big time, the soil health is messed up, but we need to understand the gravity of the situation, and at that intensity, the way we are discussing here, we need to take it down, and the government also needs to like take it up in a big way.
There are 20 seconds. Actually, the difference of opinions should exist. That's why the direction of growth is there. But I think the answer was misinterpreted. I didn't say that we are not discussing with farmers. We have developed all these, I mean, things in a very easy manner in local languages to reach to the farmers. I am telling like greenhouse gas measurements. If we will discuss with the farmers, they will not, I mean, be interested. They will run away. So, but we have to tell in a simpler way that if this technique you are following, this is going to be a better environment for you as well as your kids and future. So we are doing that, and certainly we have to take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Yeah, with that I will close and move to the next presenter, Dr. Rajbir Singh from ICAR. Over to you.
My presentation, please. Distinguished delegates, at the outset, I would say that I feel sorry joining late, as I was stuck in Parliament important issues. So I just came previous presentation. I will share my view on the topic, emerging challenges of climate change for food system in India. But my main focus will be the adaptation programs and policies of the government and researchers, what we are doing, and how best we can we can transform the system to a resilient food production system. Now I was not really knowing that Dr. B.S. Sidhu Jakarsa will be here. Otherwise, my presentation could have been different. I know I have missed the farmers part in my slide also, but nevertheless I will discuss the point which are relevant to climate change, for particularly what happened in northern part of the country in last 2 years even. But since I have taken my slides, let me allow to present those things, but we will be discussing the points raised by honorable delegates present over here. Rahul has told many things, but yes, when we are talking about the practical part of it, it's missing. I also missed those slides because I was thinking this is academic type of discussion and we will be discussing, the actual trend, what Jakarta was telling, yes, that has not been kept so promptly in this seminar, which require more or less wholehearted participation of farmer in the food system, because it is farmer is the lowest but the very important part of food system. I got a chance to have been in COP29 held recently in Dubai, where now the discussion is beyond carbon dioxide only. Non-carbon dioxide emissions, particularly methane and nitrous oxide and chlorofluorethane. And then comes mitigation part, and then our part is I will be discussing some of the part here. Time is a constraint, but I will try to finish in time. Slide please. So everybody. Right. So this is the slide many have talked about, but my only point is that when we talk about CO2 concentration in the environment, 50% increase compared to pre-industrial area, from 280 ppm to now almost 420-21 ppm. Similarly, Earth's surface is warmer by 1.0 degrees centigrade higher compared to pre-industrial, And sea level, Arctic sea ice area, and then glacier retreat, many have talked about it. To start with, I told that yes, CO2 concentration is increasing on one hand, and temperatures are also going to increase. This is what I want to share here is that agriculture is the second largest, producer of GHG emission after, I think, energy sector. It contributes around 14% of GHG emission as per 2016 data. And main contributor is enteric fermentation coming from the animal sector, almost 55%. 18% is, what Rahul was telling, that rice cultivation. Rest is, mismanagement or management of fertilizer and compost, and then residue burning, which contribute as a whole around 2.17%. So this is how the pollutants are emitting in the agriculture field, and how best we can manage those things. Let's have some discussion on those things. This is the table showing that climate change has caused substantial changes. I would say irrevocable losses in terrestrial, freshwater, coastal and ocean ecosystem, and what we are doing, thinking today, what we are doing today, that will decide our future. This is a table where many speakers already told that yes, night temperature is increasing compared to day temperature. I mean, T minimum is increasing, that is very worried, particularly respiration, photorespiration. Temperature is increasing more in northern part of the country compared to the southern part. It increased during post rainy season, means that our winters are becoming warmer. And then rainfall amount and variability increase during Kharif season. That also indicate that the coming time will be tough for us, taking these things into consideration. This is what I wanted to, because climate change and the food production system, how to make it more sustainable, but climate change is posing a lot of challenges to us. So definitely it will worsen our situation if we are not changing ourselves. Whether it is soil fertility, whether it is water availability, whether it is, they all are, accumulate on the effect of crop yield, food production, challenging to our food system in this form of food security, nutritional security, and food availability to the common man. Indirectly, one of a speaker also told about pests, emerging. Many new pests are coming. Farm, worm, you told about. So these are the things, and then more there are problems at every step, from the production to table, movement of food from field to farm to table. There are a lot of challenges for us. Now let me discuss some of the projections, what they say about the future projections. In rice, projection says that there will be reduction in yield of irrigated rice by 3.5% in 2050, and maybe as high as 5% in 2080s. Rain-fed rice is also will be affected by decrease or reduced yield by 2.5%. Similarly, in wheat, a rise of 1 degree temperature in mean maximum temperature for vegetative grain filling period can reduce wheat yield by 360 and 265 kg per hectare, respectively. Yield reduction will be as high as 19% in 2050 and 40% by 2080. And this is nearly a truth that with every 1 degree temperature increase, yield will be reduced by 6 million tons in the country. Similarly, in case of maize, kharif yield can reduce by 18 to 23% by 2050 and by 2080s. These projections has clearly indicate that if you are not taking the adaptation measures to counter these measures, otherwise there will be a problem for our food security as well as food production, agricultural production, whatever you say, including food, including fruit and vegetable, everything. But we do have the adaptation mechanism with us. We have the technologies where irrigated rice yield can improve by 17%, rain-fed rice yield can improve by 20%, wheat yield by more than 10%, and we can improve the maize yield by 10% by 2050. The only condition is that the adaptation have to be replicated at each field throughout the country so that we can have those benefits out of it. And if this projection says, and I would say that is very frightening figure, 150 million people will be added in the category of hunger. Right now it is 690 million. It can increase by, in a span of 7 years, it may increase 840 million population in the country. Now, let me come down to what government is doing. India came forward around 15 years back when it started National Action Plan for Climate Change, and in that plan they have initiated 8 national missions. Out of these 8 national missions, one was fully dedicated to agriculture, and they call it as National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture. And the prime objective of this mission was to transform Indian agriculture into an ecological, sustainable and resilient production system while ensuring food security and livelihood opportunities. So this was the main mandate of this mission, and it has many components, particularly bringing resilience in the agriculture production system and conserving our natural resources is very, very important, whether it is soil, water, air, and increasing green cover and carbon stock. Besides ensuring food security and economic stability, this is the national mission being operated by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. Simultaneously, in 2011, around 12 years back, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, ICAR, also initiated one project, and this is a very flagship program of ICAR, which is National Innovation in Climate Resilient Agriculture, NICRA. This is a project, or this is a program which addresses climate change issue in all agriculture, horticulture, livestock, fishery, natural resource management, and including social sciences. This NICRA project has 3 very strong components. One is strategic research, which revolves around the developing of the technologies, developing on the technologies as well as climate resilient varieties. Technology demonstration, what the in previous discussion was that farmers' participation. Technology demonstration is a very, very important part in this project. I will highlight some of the success stories what happened. and that capacity building from farmers to the policymaker, all in the chain. Lowest chain, what Zakir Sahab was telling, farmers and policymakers, and interconnection, all the situation in between. So that is very, very important, and we are doing all the three things. Besides this, our focus was that how to make a village, because the lowest unit of anything is village. And for household, and another one I think is the farm household level. So we have taken those things into the consideration, and then develop how to bring the resilience in the village itself, so that if we can able to convert a village into resilient village, definitely it can be outscaled. So this was the main purpose of this NICRA project. At ICAR headquarters, we are looking after it. So out of this, what we to start with, first of all, we did the risk analysis, including all the parameters of vulnerability, exposure, and hazards. And the country were divided into which are the districts which are more more vulnerable to the climate change. You'll be shocked to know that out of 650 districts were analyzed. Out of that, 109 districts are prone to very high risk, and 201 districts are in the category of high risk. So that means I could say 310 districts are there in the country out of 650 districts, which are having high risk of vulnerability, climate change. And to look into those things, we planned how to go ahead with these districts, and out of 350 districts, we selected 150 districts which are most vulnerable to different shocks of climate change. And we selected a village in that district and start working in that village in 2011. Last 12 years we have worked there, and now the villages, surrounding villages are also adopting those technologies, and in total 446 villages we are working, where good stories, success stories has emerged, how a farmer, when a farmer is empowered with knowledge as well as the inputs, he can face, or he can mitigate the losses coming due to climate change. This is what I was telling, that out of 151 districts, these are the vulnerability like drought, cyclone, flood, heat wave, cold wave. These have been addressed in these villages. 151 climatic vulnerable district, one village in each district. Later on, moving around or to develop the hub of villages which are working to counter the adverse effect of climate change. First thing comes out of this project NICRA is that we developed climate resilient varieties. Total in last one decade, 1956 varieties were released, out of which more than 1600 varieties were climate resilient, maybe in one form or the other form, on biotic or abiotic stress. These are the different distribution of varieties against which these varieties are tolerant. 74 varieties of 7 crops have been improved for 20 traits using molecular breeding. And 87 varieties are biofortified varieties. When we are talking about nutritional security, that part has also been taken care of. Now coming to rice, because rice is the crop which covers around 25% of area, if I am not wrong, Rahul. 47 million hectares in the country. It's around 1/4 area is under rice. And why it is the main culprit? Because it emits, its production technology emits methane and nitric oxide. So it's more vulnerable to climate change. And these are the technologies, though Rahul has in one or two slides has explained those things. Let me explain here also that there are the technology, we put on large scale, we can address the issue of climate change. For example, in case of varieties, Pusa 44 is a variety which is a long duration variety. Highest productivity is in Pusa 44, but long duration have many problems. It requires more water, more fertilizer, longer period, and then higher load of residues also there. But PB 1509 very popular among the farmers. It has the lowest methane emission compared to other varieties. Similarly, production technologies, SRI with drip irrigation has a reduced capacity of 36% global warming potential compared to only SRI, and 22% water saving in SRI drip over SRI conventional. So these are some of the technology taken to the on larger scale. We were talking about the SRI. SRI is, in eastern part, some states is being popular, but in other part of rice cultivation, SRI is not being followed. My second point is particularly rice, 47 million hectare have different ecologies, whether it is aerobic rice, whether it is lowland, whether it is deep water rice, whether it is zero-tilled rice. So these were the experiment done at different locations, different ecologies, showing that global warming potential is very less in case of zero-tilled rice and aerobic rice. Similarly, carbon equivalent emission, and that is also very less compared to the traditional method of rice cultivation. This is what northern part we are talking about. In Haryana, Punjab, around 47 million lakh hectare, 4.7 million hectare in the rice in Punjab and Haryana, and the main problem is residue burning. And during the end of October and the first fortnight of November, there is hue and cry in the press, lot of smoke and farmers are being blamed. This is the problem, but we have the solution. Only thing is that we have to convince the farmer with these technologies which are available, and they are very, environmental friendly as well as having low global warming potential. Then this is a case study from a village. Climate, we call it as climate resilient village. It's in the Gonda district of Uttar Pradesh, where the main problem is of flood. And what we did there, the conversion of varieties, replacement of varieties with the suitable varieties. For example, Bina Dhan 11, it is a very good rice variety for flood tolerance, and it improved the yield of income because we are more concerned about the income. So it increased 10,000 rupees per hectare if the farmers is replacing this variety with the traditional one. Similarly, in case of wheat, zero tillage planting method has improved his income by 13,000 rupees. Late sown wheat, because in eastern part of the country, late sowing is a big problem due to long duration of rainfall and then rice. So the late sown wheat cultivars being replaced, they also got more than 10,000 rupees. Similarly, short duration variety Uttara, where the condition rice after rice, they can fetch as high as 26,000 rupees. So these are some of the technology in the form of changing or replacing of the climate resilient varieties can favor farmers in that sense. And when the whole village was converted with these interventions, there was a monetary benefit of 86 lakhs of rupees during the stress year, when flood played havoc in the surrounding areas, but this village could gain 86 lakh rupees as a whole. Similarly, let me give an example of village which is being facing problem of drought, and this is the case study of Datia district in Bundelkhand. Here also again, when they go for water harvesting and able to give the supplement irrigation, that resulted in additional income of 12,000 rupees in mustard, 24,000 in wheat, and 14,000 in chickpea. That shows the availability of water at critical stages is very, very important. But the problem with farmer is that he is not aware of those things, and he is not having that facility to store the water. But if he has been helped or he has been given some kind of incentive so that he can have their own arrangement of water, the things can change a lot. Similarly, ridge and furrow planting in maize, again the additional land is 32,000 rupees per hectare. Heat tolerant and short duration variety of wheat and mustard also resulted into 5 minutes more. Okay. And similarly, they introduced the Mura buffalo there with the availability of green fodder that can increase 450 liter of milk per year per animal, and that can for a farmers it can add up to 18,000 rupees per year. This is millet. I will not take because millet has a separate session, I think, but millets again is a very, very powerful source, powerful crop. We call it as a climate resilient crops due to shorter duration, short demand of less demand of water, less fertilizer requirement, short duration. So they are more climate resilient. The only thing is that we have to identify, mark the areas in the country where we can have these crops. And they have, carbon neutral crops. They are being called as carbon neutral crop because they are carbon equivalent carbon emission is very, very less compared to rice and wheat. But the whole area we can't go for the millet because food security is very, very important, but we have to sit together with all the stakeholders to define what are the areas suitable for these cultures. Another is agro advisory, very, very important because the farmer is given well advanced, perfect advisory. This is very helpful for the farmers. Everybody knows this, and we have to, upscale those things. This is what at village level, Jakar was telling the last line, village. How to have, we must have climate risk management committee at the village level who can implement and spread the intervention of the climate resilient technology in the village. We must have custom hiring center in the village so that because labor is going to be a different proposition. So labor, looking into the labor scarcity, custom hiring center and each village with the practical machineries is the answer to climate resilient agriculture. Similarly, seed bank, each village should be having a bank of resilient varieties, looking into whether it is facing flood or drought or anything other problems. Similarly, fodder production system, because animal component is again very, very, very important. So we have to look onto those things. These things have been implemented in these climate resilient villages. So building capacity is another very, very important. From bottom line, from farmers to the policy makers, we conducted around 20,000 capacity building program to make farmers more, capable, and more than 7 lakh farmers have been, they have been trained. This is what next, climate resilient village. Now we are moving on those lines, but simultaneously we can have carbon neutral villages also. But this is what we are doing, or it is still in evaluation form. But this can be achieved. So what is next? Because time is very, very less for me. We have developed different out of this project, different states. Mitigation plan, adaptation plan has been developed because agriculture is a state subject. So for every state we have different region wise. This is upscaling out of learning from this NICRA project. We Maharashtra government got a World Bank project of $650 million, in which 5,000 villages are under the process of converted into climate resilient village. Similarly, we got a project from ADB, Asian Development Bank, of $1.5 million, where 7 states of SAARC countries we are working on that. And similarly, the many initiatives have started as far as climate resilient agriculture is concerned in Telangana, Bihar, and Tamil Nadu. This is the pathway I wanted to discuss those things. That water management is very, very important. Farmer says, give me water, I will give the prosperity. Water is the most important thing. So water management have to be looked at the landscape level so that we can have a foolproof water plan for the village. Soil management at field level, because each plot, each field is very, very important to know what is the status of nutrient in soil. So that have to be, and we have the plan for that. Soil health card of 23 to 30 million soil card have been issued to the farmers almost at field. Machine availability again very, very important. Machine availability in the form of custom hiring center or machine bank at village level is again very, very important. Similarly, seed availability at family level. unified agro advisory to each farmer is it's not a very tough job, but yes, all if we take sincere efforts on those things, so we can approach to this. And agroforestry, again, when we talk about the climate change, when we talk about the mitigation, then we have to think about the agroforestry, and there are many things for promotion of agroforestry, but at panchayat level we can think about those things. But by following these protocols, I think we can convert each village to the climate resilient village, and this is the way forward. Let's make each farmer a driver to counter climate change, and let's derive benefit out of this climate adaptation program being adopted by the farmers. This is the last tagline from my side, but I want to highlight way forward what should be the way. Awareness and capacity development from farmers to the policymaker, very important. Community driven progress is very, very important. Until unless the whole community is not involved, we are not going nowhere. Need to convert multi-ministerial program. There are n number of programs. Even sometimes I also been confused in those so many plans. But that has to again converge at village or block level. And then top of it, every should be informed well that reducing food losses, it should be considered as one of the greatest climate change mitigation. With this, let's make the farmers as a driver, and let's see how he is doing. Let's derive the things, how best we can move. Thank you very much. If you have 2-3 minutes, so because Sidhu Saab is there, Zakir Saab is there, I just mentioned 2 things, sir, in last 2 years. I'm not talking about 2 decades, only 2 years. 2022 heat wave. The North India has, as national level 4 million ton wheat production was less. So this is a critical example. My second example is 2023, again wheat season. 34% lodging in Punjab, 29% lodging of the whole area in Haryana, 24% lodging in Uttar Pradesh, though the yield were not because the season was prolonged and we got the bumper crop of wheat. Despite a long spell of rainfall followed by gusty wind and resulting into lodging, even then farmer got a good yield because the season prolonged for that. So these are some of the things which require dissection of everything, how it happened, how to tackle those things. So this is the thing which should be debated at such platform so that we can have some of the answers for the farmer. And the man who was talking about the farmers, who is listening to the farmers, that probably will be the best method to take the challenge of climate. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Dr. Rajbir, David here. Couple of things. First is there's not much on livestock in your analysis. And secondly, I was very pleased to see your 4th bullet at the end, but I would have hoped to have seen something like we are converging multi-ministerial programs at the village level rather than there is a need to. I'm going to, tomorrow when Ramesh Chand comes, I hope we can ask him what's the prospect of getting a multi-ministerial mission on climate change in rural areas so that it's not you as a researcher who has to make this point, but it becomes a political priority after the election. And I just wondered, are we anywhere near that or not? So first was livestock, the second was
livestock,
the multi-ministerial.
we are working on it, 54% contribution is from livestock sector. We are working on it. Intentionally, I have not kept some of the part which have because I was thinking they are talking about only food production and food availability. That is my fault. I should have devoted at least one slide for that. And as well as convergence, yes, interministerial convergence is very, very important. Even the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare and even Ministry of Rural Development, they have many programs, but they don't converge on a single platform. These are the hurdles we are facing. So the point is that we have to collaborate, we have to cooperate and converge fully. Only then we can move ahead to take the challenge of climate change.
In 1984, there was only one Ministry of Agriculture and
Yes.
Cooperation.
Right,
First,
sir.
Water Resources Ministry, 1984, it separated.
Fertilizer, earth, water,
Then
89.
fertilizer separated, then cooperation separated, and now investment is separated. That's why actually David, since he doesn't work for livestock, so he has not mentioned livestock. It has separate ministry now.
You are true. That is the biggest problem. That we have dissected a single part into different parts. Now we are saying that okay, you are different, but come at one place. So again, meeting at one place is very, very tough. Very tough.
Everybody is trying to safeguard his fiefdom.
Fair enough.
Thank you so much, sir, for the details as well as the climate resilient villages, how it is getting translated, and different institutional services are being included as part of the service. So thank you so much, sir. So with that, we are moving to the final presentation. It will be a case study, so it will be completely different from other 5 different presentations. Sorry, it's difficult to see from there. This is basically how water resource management from science, how it is getting practiced in the field along with policy makers. Morning onwards, we keep discussing about how initiatives can be decentralized. We can take those initiatives at the Gram Panchayat level or village level, how it get operationalized. So here we work with Tamil Nadu state. In 2 districts we initiated our activities. These are all just initial framework. Basically, the groundwater resources as well as surface water resources are getting affected due to changes in the climate. Especially the water qualities also have a kind of a great impact due to changes in temperature. And again the yield. Those discussions we had from all presentations, how it is getting impacted. So coming to the next level, from IPCC there are different solutions have come up. One from the demand side, another on the supply side. So how both sides of adaptation measures can be of help to bring a kind of a comprehensive assessment at the village level. So in that we took a kind of an district level vulnerability study, and in that we gave priority to groundwater extraction, recharge, surface water availability, water gap and percentage of contamination. Those issues were taken into a kind of an indicators. At the district level, the vulnerability analysis was done. From that, 2 districts were selected based on the vulnerability status with the support of state government. So this is the climate vulnerability index, and in that 5 districts came up as a kind of a very vulnerable. Of these 2 districts, one is coastal, another one is semi-arid ecosystem was selected for intervention. So here only one district I am taking as a kind of a case to elaborate the process. The particular district has kind of high socioeconomic vulnerability. Then exposure to climate extremities was very high, and the gap between supply and demand, especially on water resources for productive as well as the domestic use, including the drinking water and water for livestock. Then agriculture vulnerability, being a coastal district and high area under, the high proportion of the area under rain-fed agriculture. So that was a kind of a risk associated with that local production systems. So when we study further into the district level, we underwent a kind of decentralized studies in terms of groundwater. So in the groundwater, what are all the status, how the groundwater tables are getting declined and getting salinized also due to the coastal seawater intrusion kind of thing, and how the data sets are available, then the monsoon have an impact on that thing, and how the wells become dry in hot season, and the salinity level is also getting increased. And the second, at the FIRCA level, we could able to see how the changes are there, because right now the decisions are taken at the district level, but when we get into the FIRCA level, how the adaptation measures can be brought in. So then similarly the seawater intrusion studies also undertaken. Understand what is the intensity and how often we are getting the issue of this kind of risk, because it has implications both for drinking water, livestock as well as the crop production. So this is the water quality index, both pre-monsoon as well as the past monsoon. So this kind of studies helped us to understand the issues around which the potential measures can be taken it up. So again we had a discussion with the particular Gram Panchayat people with this kind of data sets, what kind of measures can be undertaken, because here if we take the climate dimension, the average rainfall is 821 mm, but it is the distribution is a major issue because of the increasing extreme events within a particular number of rainy days. Earlier it used to be 30 to 40 rainy days, but now it is getting reduced to 10 number of rainy days. So such kind of risk are there, and what kind of water harvesting structures and the recharging measures they should undertake. So these are all using the spatial spatial maps. We understood further the area under erosion, wastelands, all for the particular village it was done. So based on that, with the support of Department of Rural Development at the particular district, that is Ramanathapuram, we identified water actions for 4 different kind of sets. One is public and common land, because from morning onwards we keep discussing about ecological services or ecosystem services, because all the ecosystem services related to water or any other biodiversity elements which are lying in the public or common land. But now due to the changes in the local governance, those systems are getting degraded. So how do we facilitate the process of restoring those ecosystems? Then development of agriculture and allied activities. From the last 5 presentations we kept getting inputs, different technology services are available to improve, but the way it is getting adopted, there are issues and challenges that we need to address, but the solutions are available there. Then the development of rural infrastructure. So Sarah's also telling about the common service center, seed bank, like that there are many village level service centers are needed to bring the backward and forward linkages for technology adoption, whatever we are facilitating. Then the development of climate resilient measures. So considering the projections for climate as well, for rainfall as well as temperature. So how do we develop those kind of models that will support the district government or district machinery to take it up further under their other initiatives. So for the one village we identified under 4 categories what are all the different kind of works or water actions can be undertaken, starting from your afforestation to then improving the soil health, that is the vermicompost. So at 4 different levels those actions were identified with the participation of the local community as well as the district administration. Then these programs were discussed. These are all some of the climate resilient measures where the particular district, the Prosopis is a kind of an invasive species. So any common land kept ideal for 1 year, then the next year you can see the growth of Prosopis. So once Prosopis has occurred in that particular land, removal is a very difficult task, and it needs huge investment for the farmer side or from the panchayat side. So how do we facilitate the alternative arrangements? So we facilitated demonstrated mini forest with locally adapted species. So it is a kind of a new intervention for them, and it is mainstreamed with MGNREG's work. And similarly, again the problem was drinking water, since it is a coastal district where the rainfall is also very less, and by climatic as well as the biophysical side, because of the geology of that region, soil salinity is a very huge issue. So during the summer month, the drinking water is a big issue for them. So how do we facilitate some of the potential actions? Earlier they used to have a kind of an open pond, it's called urani. They used to have separate uranis for drinking, for bathing or livestock kind of thing, but due to changes in the socio-economic conditions, those systems are getting diluted, and many places it is not under proper condition. So we facilitated the Tanka model, which is being practiced in Rajasthan. So now it is getting a kind of an encouragement among the farmers, especially women members, for drinking water. So this is a kind of a common property resource developed for ensuring safe drinking water at the village level. Again, based on the soil, water quality index, we identified the areas where such kind of tankas can be established. It is a kind of a decision support system for the district administration. And again, another important measures we facilitated is cascading of tanks. Because many of the context, especially in Ramanathapuram, being a kind of an supported by the older kingdom, more than 400 tanks are available, but all tanks are interconnected. So if you can take the older records, we could able to identify with a particular village 200 cascade systems are available. But those knowledge systems are getting eroded. Many of them could not able to identify which tank is connected to which tank. So then we revived those facilities and identified which tank which can be potentially linked with other. So like that, two such cascade of tanks was facilitated with different schemes at the village level to ensure the water storage as well as the equal distribution at the village level. So the convergence. So those things happen through convergence. So we keep discussing about the convergence, but the facilitation of the convergent process is very, very much essential. So a person who is handling that particular initiative has to work with district administration, bring all departments together, and in this particular initiative, the steering structure helped us. At the state level, we had a state level steering committee, district level, we had a district level steering committee under the chairmanship of district collector. So every month we used to have a kind of a discussion. So after identifying the plan or preparing the plan, at the village level we had a discussion, then at the district level, collector used to sit with all of the members, all of the different departments. So each of the activities, like for example, farm ponds is a one mechanism, but it is available both under MGNREJ scheme as well as the agriculture engineering department. So then collector used to pull all the schemes together wherever it is possible, how it can be operationalized at the field level. So the continuous facilitation is necessary to bring the actors together and also available resources to take the initiative forward. So with that, the climate change and its adverse impacts on water resources, both surface and groundwater, the context-specific studies helped us to understand the impacts on food system, livelihoods as well as the well-being. The overall aspects were taken into consideration, and the macro scale study undertaken with micro level studies helped to convince the policymakers, convince the district administration. See, the problem is like this. The problem is not one, it's one size approach. It's not helpful. So you should have a kind of a decentralized decision support system at the village level or at the district level. For example, in the blocks which are on the coastal side need different kind of support, blocks which are on the interior side different kind of support. So it helped the collector also to identify such kind of differences and bring the measures which are necessary to that context. Then partnership with research and government institutions to link science and practice with a close facilitation, because the collector, since he is a bureaucrat and many times convincing him, it took some time for us, and frequent changes in the collectorship also challenging for us, but every time we put effort to make them to understand the overall framework and how support is needed. Then the whole officials which were working under the particular collectorship also sensitized to the whole process, that was very supportive to us. Then investing and enhancing ecosystem services and public common land while empowering the local actors and district functionaries are crucial. For example, in villages which are having a kind of an sanitation system. Villages mostly used to have open sanitation system. So now with the support of this MGNREGs, they facilitated the whole process of how to collect the waste, both the liquid as well as the solid waste, and how it should be processed at the village level using soak pits and other technologies, or how the solid waste can be managed, which can be used as a kind of an input for agriculture. So such kind of things, based on the technology available, based on the schemes available at that particular village, the facilitation supported them to get into practice side. Then the adaptation models again, the pilots we facilitated. So in the particular district alone, 15 pilots based on the climate risk we facilitated. Now those pilots were mainstreamed into different schemes, especially with the MGNREGs. Now they have taken it up, but MGNREGs, many tasks may not be possible. For example, cascading of tanks, only the linking channels can be taken it up under MGNREGs, but the deepening or restoring the ponds with the other schemes. So now the awareness is there to practice how it should be taken to the next level. Then the evidence-based studies are needed to evaluate the process and outcome, how it is working. But now 2019 we initiated the work, till now it is going on. Now we are undertaking studies, how simple tools have been developed with the support of other research organizations to see changes and what process has been adopted and what challenges we faced. As a kind of a process document, we are taking this as a kind of an document to share with other communities and other policy makers. So with that I conclude. Thank you very much. So now we have 10 more minutes. Maybe I request all panel members to come to the stage. We can have focused questions, because many presentations come up with different kind of technology choices available to handle some of the issues related to key climate risk as well as the challenges. But now we can discuss why it is not getting translated into action, what kind of support or services are essential to make the food system to practice such potential technologies. Sir. No, people will come up with the questions.
Burning questions.
Burning questions.
Otherwise, we can ask. जाओ भाई 2022 के अंदर जो हीट वेव था बहुत नुकसान हो गया।
So this for me was one of the most important panels I've ever heard, because this is going to be the story for India for the next 10 to 15 years. And farmers have to get into this, collectors have to get into it, different ministries have to get into it. It seems that the part that's missing, but it's in the background whenever anybody speaks, is how to embed this in the administrative structures of panchayats and of districts, or of blocks and of districts, and then going wider. And I hope that I can encourage the foundation to go the extra bit on three counts. One is moving beyond crops. The second is moving beyond the agriculture sector and involving the health sector and other sectors as well. And the third is getting this much more widely spread across India, and that systems can be worked through with local communities. And the reason I'm nervous about it is that I think if it's not done quickly, as we've seen in other parts of the world, the shortage of water and the challenges of climate change will lead to disputes in villages and in communities. Disputes over access to water, disputes between families or between domestic and business about access to water, and then you get violence. And in Western Sudan, it's a massive cause of violence. In fact, it's led to a war. So I'm just hopeful that this can be something that grows, led by the foundation. Am I being stupid, or do you agree with me? Thank you.
Yeah, completely agree with you, because in many contexts we have observed the violence in different forms at the domestic level, because women spend almost more than 4 hours in some of the villages to collect water, and how they are struggling, we could able to see. The quality of the water is also getting down in such locations. So between villages also there are issues related to that. Definitely the actions at appropriate time and level is needed to take up the initiatives.
David, you have rightly said that yes, water is the most important thing. In future it will be a bone of contention, and many conflicts are there and will arise further. So water management at village level or landscape level is very, very important. And next 20 years, let's talk about even Punjab, the leading state of agriculture in India. Next 20 years will be very, very crucial for Punjab if Punjab is not acting fast, quickly to address the issue of water. Rice cultivation, and then there are many issues, and there is a great nexus between rice, mandi, electricity, free electricity. So there are the issues which should be on top priority for the governments to take decision, and wise decision, judicious use of water. And every citizen, not only the farmers, every citizen has to make aware about the use of water. So I think well taken point, and this is this will lead to a sustainability if we can maintain the water sustainability.
Do we have time for a quick question? Okay, quick question, and this is not very specific to any presentation but slightly general, and any of you can respond. I've always wanted to ask a bunch of people working in science this question. In these contexts, when we talk about resilience, we often use diversity as a proxy for increasing resilience, right? And through presentation after presentation, we've heard that we need to be productive, efficient, and we need to increase diversity. And somewhere it feels like we've covered our bases. But one of the essential principles of resilience is building redundancy buffers, of which there is common land and those kind of things, but one doesn't hear enough of that. So I wanted to hear from any of you who has thoughts on this. What does that really look like? Because it means like deliberately building some inefficiencies in some sense, right? So how do you balance the tension between being efficient but also having the necessary redundancies in any context?
It should be seen at two different levels. one at the farmer level, how the system perspective you are bringing in. For example, some of the presentation they brought how diversification can be brought in, how integration within the farm among different enterprises can be brought in. That is one level. And the second at the landscape level. At the landscape level, you need to invest more, because at the landscape level it is coming under common property resource, where the investments as well as the interest among the local communities are getting down. So in those contexts, the government institutions like the Gram Panchayat, so they have to be sensitized and they have to be given adequate resources to take it forward. Because in many of the Gram Panchayats, though they have the plan, though they were aware about the resource degradation and other things, they could not get adequate resources for them to invest and make it kind of thing. For example, in southern states, one particular scheme, it's called Kudi Maramat. The particular name called, it is basically renovation of water bodies. Then those water bodies size is very big, more than 40 hectares, but the amount allocated is only 5 lakhs. So what can they do? Only a kind of a very small work they undertook, but that is not sufficient. But on record it says those water bodies were renovated. So we need to think how those resources are allocated and how successful the management of the particular resource. So in that context, bringing the resilience at the system level, it has different dimensions. One at the technology level, second at the financial level, and third at the community level. What ownership you are bringing in, how it get me sustained over a period of time after the renovation. So those things needs to be discussed and finalized by evolving such options.
I think Madam has rightly given the right answer, but to add up, this is the community approach. Community has to be educated. They have to come forward. They have to take the best part, and then convince all the stakeholders so to take action on those things. So action for climate change is very, very important. Thank you.
I request the panelists to be remain seated just for 2 minutes. Thank you very much to MSSRF. When I asked a friend here, just outside, how was the session, the person told me that it is too packed with information. And my response was that when ICAR and MSSRF comes with their package of knowledge, of course it's expected. So, the association of MSSRF with FOLU and BKS for conducting this event is not finishing here. Tomorrow we have Dr. Soumya coming for a special lecture as well. I thank first the organizers of this session, MSSRF, Dr. Ranga and Dr. Gobi, make very good friends actually, right? So when I just came in the first call itself, Dr. Ranga was saying, yes, we are in. So, she never had a second thought. I thank Dr. Anushiya, Dr. Rahul Tripathy, Dr. Rajbir Singh, Dr. Santanu Kumar Bal, Dr. Somasundaram Jeyaraman as well, and all ICR Institute. NRRI, we have a very good relationship with FOLU because our Dr. Nayak is going to be here tomorrow as well, and he is part of other programs as well. So thank you for spending your time. Thank you for enriching this session with your rich knowledge content. So yeah, I think this great panel needs a big deserve a big applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. So just a few announcements, logistics announcements for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Dr. Ramesh Chand coming to do the session, and this hall is going to be back into a common hall. No breakout, no small halls, no congestion, and you will be relaxed tomorrow. I request all of you to join us for breakfast, just chit chats, recaps of what we continue the discussion, what you missed here because of my interventions. I'm sorry for that. And let us be seated by 10:20 itself, so that Professor Ramesh Chand can start at time. And it's going to be a little longer session, and Professor Ramesh Chand will be presenting. We will have a breakout discussion after that. Then that breakout group discussion will be reporting back to Ramesh Chand, and there will be an interaction. So it is going to be highly interactive. Afternoon, as you know, we have the cross-cutting talks. And we will be presenting you the India Food System Transformation Hub plan, the preliminary plan, which is basically taking this whole efforts of IFSD for FSD forward. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. It's a tea waiting outside. Please refresh yourself, continue your discussions. Thank you.